Hello, hello, hello. We are live, and I'm sure that only Chris and me are here, and no one else. Considering the person who commented, who always comments when we don't appear, I think Varun is just because because of Varun, we are here today. We had otherwise planned our episode for yesterday. So thank you, Varun, for making us delay the podcast and then not deciding to appear on it in any case. आपका comment सर आंखों पर, I suppose, or whatever. Anyways, we have a lot to get through today. We are yet to be joined by Amartya and Aryan, who I presume are into the cricket. So they haven't yet joined our live stream. Any moment India wins, I think they should be joining. If India loses, then also they will be joining, but I don't think that is possible at this point in time. No, it isn't. So yes, they'll be joining very soon. Congratulations to India and anyone who follows cricket, I suppose. We have nothing to do with it, which is why we are stupid and planned it at the time when the match is ongoing. So yes, we have two people. Chris, are you one of them?
Apparently, I am not one of them.
Okay, then Varun might be one of them because he's, showing, like demonstrating that he can support us in some capacity, even though he actually doesn't, live up to his promise of actually coming and joining the live stream. Thank you, Varun. If indeed you are here, if you're not, then fuck off, I guess. Yeah.
You're
Anyways,
already starting this episode this salty.
with Varun, it's always fun, banter and whatever. So it's okay. Because
Uh,
Varun knows how to take a joke or knows how to, understand people's perspectives or yeah, whatever. Anyways, we have lots to get through. I will
I am
be
shaking my head vigorously on behind this.
I will be very salty this episode at certain points, especially in the first 10 minutes. Oh, Tuhin is here, of course. Hi, Tuhin, how are you? Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, that goes without saying. That's my and Chris's favorite movie of the
Of
past.
course,
How many years, Chris?
two.
Two? Only of two. I thought it'll be like of like 10, 15 years. No, but Tuhin, you are due to come on this podcast sometime. Maybe we'll do like a, versus episode of some films where you like
Please, oh my
something and
god.
we hate it or whatever. Because again, it'll be fun more than anything else. But I think we agree on some of them. I think Tuhin only is the one who first brought my attention to soundtrack to a coup d'etat. So thank you for
Oh.
that so much because there's a lot to be talked about that film. We have an episode incoming this week, later this week, where we have also talked about it. But today I think we'll automatically talk about that. So yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean that's one of I think two of us have seen it out of the four who are here, and yeah, it's most definitely one of the best films I think of the year, and most I think in the forthcoming episode I think we also say that, or at least I had put it as my favorite, best edited my favorite
Hmm.
editing in any film. So yeah, lots to be talked about, but yes, experimental documentaries are always welcome, from me at least. So yes. Anyways, we will begin not in sort of bliss or heaven or wherever. We will begin at the Oscars 2025, and which is fine apparently. So let me just clear the air first. The ceremony was held, for whoever's not aware, and whoever was as disinterested in the award show as I was. I didn't watch it. I am relying on Aryan to join and fill me in on whatever specifics that happened. I just watched one of the speeches later on because that speech was very moving. Chris, you didn't watch much of the show also?
No, I was just watching clips, whatever turned up on Twitter, or just looked up a
Sure,
couple.
sure. But yes, so whoever's not aware, it was held at the Dolby Theater or Dolby Theater in LA, Hollywood, and it apparently it did well, like ratings and like TV ratings wise, like the viewership I know has been down for a while. Do you That might be because it had like some high profile releases, like high profile films, which were on the best film list and like throughout. So like, what was there? Wicked was the highest profile one,
Probably. I think it's the one
or
that would have
anything
made.
else? Okay,
Uh,
Debulina's here. Debulina watched the whole thing. Okay, Debulina, fill us in. What did you think of the ceremony? What did you think of the winners? Please let us know. Aryan is joining us. I know he is the most into this, so he will fill us in also. But give your thoughts or whatever, because me and Chris are just going to dive into some stuff before we start talking specifically about the Oscars. So yes, Chris, I'm putting the banner up. Do you want to tell what happened on Twitter and why we are sort of talking about this, even like only briefly? Again, I
okay.
don't. We are starting at 8:05. The minute this hits 8:15, I'm going to stop us from talking about this because I don't want to spend more time
Okay.
on this. Okay?
I'm gonna talk about this without taking any names out of
Of
just
course.
peace of
Though
mind.
let me be very clear. Even though you're not taking the names, people who think it's about them or isn't about them, they are most welcome to come and reply to us. I have no qualms, and in them telling us if we are talking nonsense, I have no qualms in them telling us that we are rubbish. I have absolutely no issues with that. You are most welcome to do that. My point still stands that this podcast will never be a space where people can't express their points of view. I so that's just me. That's probably one of the big things I wanted to mention. I did mention it on Twitter, and I was told off. So I'm. You can take over, Chris, before I explode.
Okay.
Uh,
So I'm just going to recap this in as good faith of a way as possible as I
and
can.
one
So
second, sorry,
about
Aryan is also here.
uh,
Maybe he wants to chip in, so you can recount it to Aryan also.
Hey,
Congratulations,
hi
Aryan, for
Aryan.
India's win. Now listen to
yeah,
us bitch and moan.
right in time.
Yeah, yeah. Now we will
Yes,
bitch
you
and
are.
moan. Don't worry. Yeah.
Saturday evening, I think Dhruv uploaded the Anora episode, and I tweeted about it as I usually do. And Sunday morning, I think I saw an ex-mutual of mine now,
Hmm.
post some comments about it,
Hmm.
which I thought were, in my personal opinion, a bit questionable. And I
Hmm.
took a couple of screenshots of them and posted it in our group chat.
Yeah.
And we were all having a chat about it, and Dhruv ended up wanting to respond to them, so he hopped on
Hmm.
Twitter and
That
responded
was
to them.
that was
And
after
huh?
the win. That was after the win,
No, no,
right?
before the
No,
win.
no,
This is
Oh,
all
he
okay,
before.
responded
We
the day
released the
before.
episode
okay.
one day before the film release. So yes.
One day
Yeah.
before. So he responded to the messages, to the this thing. There was mostly no reply then itself, but there was some like subtweeting going on, which for anyone not familiar with the lingo is they were tweeting
Yes.
without
Please
mentioning
tell
us.
me,
Yes,
especially the person not aware of Twitter lingo or etiquette, what all this means. I am officially the
yes.
quitter now, not Twitter, because Sorry.
For the second,
And
third,
Amartya is
fourth
also
time, I don't
here.
know.
Amartya, do you want? Amartya will have a lot to say about this. Amartya, we
Amartya,
are.
you're here for the
You can see
drama.
the banner we have here. So yes, uh,
Um.
I
this is
just
going
So.
on.
came out. I just came out of the cricket match
We
that
all
I
India
know.
just
did.
won. So
Yeah, yeah,
basically, I'm currently in a sort of euphoric high,
yeah.
and
Whiplash,
इसलिए
the dialectics.
Here for
You saw soundtrack to a coup d'etat, right?
yeah
Dialectics.
yeah
It's
yeah.
all dialectics here. Yeah.
here to have that ruined, sir.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. Just go ahead. 8:18. So 8:18. I'm
Yes,
saying
sir.
sorry. 10 minutes. 10 minutes
Huh.
tops.
So
Hmm.
Dhruv responded to them, and there was a bit of subtweeting, which is essentially that them tweeting without mentioning us, and I shot a couple of tweets like that. So it kind of sort of quietened out in the night. Morning, we find out that Anora won 5 Oscars,
Yeah.
and they started again tweeting pretty actively about it, and replied to Dhruv's tweets with some again comments that Dhruv can expound upon. And
There's
it
nothing to expound
eventually,
upon. It's fine.
yeah, but it
Yeah.
eventually ended up in a bit of a back and forth. And I didn't engage at all. I was
No, there
subtweeting,
wasn't a back
and
and forth. There was no back to be forthrid to. It was one of
so
those things
just
where you
let me
try and
finish.
respond to people and people don't
So
want to respond to you, but it's okay. Sorry. Go
yeah.
ahead.
So and then it eventually ended up with this person blocking me and a number of their mutuals, and our mutuals saying some stuff about us. But yeah, the main point of contention was the fact that there was this idea that my ex mutual was not was quote unquote never listening to men talk about films and dismissing valid criticisms about films about women. which we took an umbrage with, and it led to all of this. So the idea was essentially that our opinions on the film were both misinformed and invalid. One, because of our identities, because we are men, and second, because we apparently have not listened to sex workers who have spoken against the film. And that led to them being quite angry about our opinions on the film. I think that's as good faith of a way as I can summarize
absolutely.
that. Dhruv, if you
And
want
I
to
think
pick up from here.
I think what we are not going to talk about if we can discuss this or cannot discuss this, because for me, again, we've made this position clear hundreds of times that we have people who can talk about anything they want. You can critique us on whatever grounds you want, but we will listen, and I seek out responses from anyone about any episode I do. They do it. I don't know about the Twitter etiquette, so sorry. I apologize there that I didn't know कि ये personal space को disturb करना होता है or whatever. So leave all that. I'm just going to respond to the one thing which I think you said, Chris, that we need to respond to, which is the one thing we didn't talk about as much in this episode. We talk about it more in the episode that's coming out this week, which I suppose I should mention it, pits Anora directly against Nosferatu. Okay, because that was the central thing we were talking about in that episode. But anyways, go ahead, Chris.
As you can see from my face, this is the amount of interest I have in this entire discourse.
The only interest
Fuck
we
the
have
bloody
is...
fuck off.
Who are you saying this to, Abhatya? Are you saying this to us?
I am saying this to literally everybody discoursing over this meat film and not actually judging the film
We
on its
like
merit,
this
but
film more
judging
than
on the
you, but
goddamn
okay.
We
noise.
like it. We like it.
It's a mid-ass film. I'm sorry. It's a
I
very
mean, you
mid-ass
don't
film.
like it. No, you're allowed to not like it, and you are allowed to express it. That is the whole point, and we like it. You think of it more in the vein of Priyadarshan.
The problem of the discourse is, I think, even Aryan's disinterest also stems from mera point of view only. Ki people are engaging on the noise around the film rather than the film itself, which is a bigger problem I have.
Which is okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyway, can I just let Chris sort of go ahead, Chris. Just we
so
need to
the
talk about
ones
that
actually,
scene.
two scenes
and
actually.
Two scenes. Okay, fair.
So somewhere around the middle of the film, there is a sequence where Anora's character, Annie, the Maggie Madison character, is sort of assaulted, or in the sense that she has a fight with the three supporting characters in the film, and they try to bound her, and the accusation was that, and has been going on for a while, that the scene was making fun of sexual assault or of rape in particular. And I thought, and personally, this is something, since that was something that we hadn't addressed, and also towards the end of the film, Anora's character accuses Yura Borisov's character of wanting to rape her, and then says that I don't know how spicy YouTube is, but he says that you are an F slur because you must be an F slur because you didn't want to if you didn't want to rape me. So the idea is essentially that Sean Baker is trivializing sexual assault. Now, I thought I should address it because I have a very clear reading of that scene, and I in my personal opinion, caveating it here, to read it as trivializing rape is...
And wait a second. So sorry, Chris. Whatever we say here is in our personal opinion. I am, sometimes when we don't say that,
I am
it still
shocked.
means that.
I am shocked that I'm shocked
sorry,
that we have to repeat that every single goddamn time.
I am putting that as a disclaimer now every time. Okay, so just to make it very clear.
So in my very humble personal opinion, it is a
humility को गार मराओ. कोई humility नहीं चाहिए. Opinion है, खुद का opinion है. Humility गार मराओ. बोलो.
It is a little bit of a bad faith misinterpretation of this scene. What I read it as, and I thought it's pretty obvious from what the film is trying to do, is that it was painting the scene as tragic in a sense, because women and sex workers in particular are constantly negotiating with the threat of sexual violence in their lives. And this was a scene where three guys with no desire to want to do it were forced to do something
they were following orders.
Violence. They were following orders and were engaging in physical violence against Anora Annie with no intention of sexual violence. But given that is what her life is constantly surrounded by, she very rightfully assumed that they had the intention of sexually assaulting her, and and was genuinely in a sense disturbed by the fact that or like surprised by the fact that it wasn't the case, which is what is shown in what comes out with her conversation with Igor, which is that she cannot fathom the fact that three men were around her and doing physical violence on her without seeking sexual favors or
Gratification. Yeah.
seeking to impose sexual gratification from her. And I think that's a very clear thing, at least from my reading of the film, that Baker is trying to show, that it is that kind of discomfort that again, it's a class struggle. It's not that these are bad people, that these are just people in really shitty circumstances having to do things that they don't want to.
And that the tragedy necessarily I think the tragedy necessarily doesn't just stem from that. I think it stems from the passive aggressiveness with which Anora goes back and forth with them, specifically with Igor in this scene. And that's why this scene was so important. It's because it, while earlier in that entire hallway sequence, we slowly start realizing that maybe she has more common. She clearly has more in common with these three men who are just following. They're just like puppets of these, basically henchmen, okay, of this Russian oligarch. It's that they have more in common than any Anora could ever have had with Vanya. I think the tragedy stems from the fact that it is her passive aggressive that is informing her character. And I think the film works supremely well because Sean Baker never treats it like a tragedy until the very last frame, where it is again like this is the only way. Unfortunately, she's been trained or conditioned to react back to any form of love or validation. And it's when he kisses her or tries to confront and comfort her is when the catharsis comes. I mean, the good thing is I don't care about what anyone thinks, that oh, it's trivializing whatever sex workers or anything. I think that
No, don't say
I'm just
that you don't care.
No,
Don't say that you don't
I
care.
was about to say.
No,
Don't say that you don't care.
No, I don't care. I don't care whatever you think, because I don't care
Very good.
precisely because Sean Baker is not the type of director who would go out, or not the kind of an artist who would go out and be like I'm talking about Zoe Saldana. If anyone,
He won't
everyone has.
expletize it. He won't
He
say
won't
out,
go out and
loud.
say like Zoe Salani or the cast or the creators of Emilia Perez that, oh, you thought this is about you. It is not even about
Zoe
me.
Saldana
Oh,
is saying this is not about Mexico. I'm like,
yeah.
woman, are you
It's like a bigger
out
insult.
of your goddamn
It's a
mind?
bigger insult that, oh, you thought it was about you. You're that self-important to yourselves. Like, no, it's not even about you, kids. And I'm like, we don't even need to go there. Like, anyone who thinks that. And at the same time, I also think like I have been sitting here with a disinterested face when it comes to this discourse, because eventually I do think I said this on our last episode, Dhruv, but I do think,
Which is releasing. Yeah.
yeah,
Which is releasing. Yeah, this week.
does anyone give a damn about a green book or even a film like Everything Everywhere
Sure.
All at Once? Like, it's like just after 2 years of its win, no one will remember Anora. I'm telling you, I love this film. Okay, I
As
think
a
it's easily
as
one.
a Sean Baker watcher, I'm not
It's
saying
not
a
even
fan. I'm not saying
exactly.
a fan because again, my perspective on Sean Baker is very different from a lot of people.
Right.
I actually don't like much of his movies, but anyway, that
I
doesn't matter.
love Sean Baker, and yet this is like my
This
third
is
favorite
not
film of his. Yeah, it's
remotely not his strongest outing
yeah,
by a
definitely,
mile. No way.
yeah.
Okay.
No way. You want to see his
Which
strongest work? He has done Tangerine. He has done Tangerine. I actually like Red Rocket. I think I
Starlet,
like Red Rocket
oh
more
my
than
god,
this.
like Starlet and Red Rocket, especially Red
we are
Rocket is
8:18, guys. I'm gonna ask you to 8:19 now, so I'm gonna move on from this. I apologize. I am
No,
the
move
only.
on.
I'm
Move
just
on, move
moving
on.
on because we've talked about Anora plenty. I think I listened back to the episode which we were, talking about last day before yesterday on Twitter. I didn't find anything which I think was objectionable that was said here from Chris, me, or Hemant. If it was, I would have apologized for that. The only thing I suppose what Chris had picked out was that we didn't talk about the the quote unquote rape sequence that was mentioned, that takes place in the center, essentially the centerpiece. After that, the film sort of splits outwards, goes outside the whirlwind, and the sort of fantasy begins to crumble. But yes, so I think I just want to mention that we have recorded an episode which is coming out this week, which further addresses Anora and how the filmmaking in that relates to something like Nosferatu and why we prefer an Anora over a Nosferatu, even when the talk in both these films is centered around a woman's agency in many ways, and how how you're deepening that character, or how you're deepening or reorienting the perspective of your story around this character. Okay, it won. Let me just finishing note. Won best film, best director, best actress, best editing, and best original screenplay. Those are 5 major awards covered. We are not talking about these
And we are not
anymore.
talking about the qualitativeness of the Oscars ka judgment kya hai. We all know that the judgment is skewed. We know why Anora won. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Everything works.
Yeah.
Okay, everything is there in Love
Everything,
and War.
everywhere, all at once was great.
Of course, I'm not saying that.
Of
I
course,
think
nobody is saying
Anora
it
is
wasn't.
great, but
Nobody is saying it wasn't.
I think the longevity and the
What's the last Oscar film you think you would have or will
Oppenheimer.
remember? Okay, you
Oppenheimer.
love Oppenheimer. Yes,
Yeah,
true.
I
no,
love
no, I
Oppenheimer
think
too.
the
also love
culture
Oppenheimer.
will
I also
remember
love
it.
Oppenheimer.
What the fuck?
All three of you love Oppenheimer. Sorry, I forgot. Like for
No,
me, I
but
would say Parasite, but
it's
I know
literally
Yeah,
Oppenheimer.
Parasite.
You
Yeah,
would.
yeah.
Drew. No, I'm not getting that. I'm not saying that. Oh, this was the film I loved. That's why. I'm just saying in terms of the longevity of the
Sure,
discourse and its impact in the long term.
sure.
Like 20 years from now. Like to be very honest, I think The Departed was an exception back then because that film was like, it's a good Scorsese film, but it won. It surprised everyone. But
Career award, no?
when anyone talks about Scorsese now, who even talks about it?
Career award tha उसको Departed तो he
But
got
I
the
think
award
Who
which
even
I
won the
talks
whole
about Departed? I do. I'm sorry.
Of course, I'm
I
not
love
talking about.
See, everyone will
about-
have favorites. It's just that what
Yeah.
the I think Aryan is getting at the point that is The Departed
Cultural
ever or like
discourse.
mostly mentioned as the great Scorsese film. I guess it's that
I'm
rhetoric.
sorry. As for Tuhin said cricket is fascist. I'm sorry. I will need to discuss this with you.
Oh, do that on private message, not here, please. This is a debate that should not be on Queen is Dead. That shall be on.
I will need to discuss this with
Yes.
The only good takeaway, I think, I'm honestly speaking this
I am
from whatever
switching to this, but yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
like the best possible major takeaway from the ceremony is that Anora won, and I've seen so many comments on like these big pages, like with like very mainstream followers and people like follows in millions, okay, and everyone in the comment section is like, I've not even heard of this film, and which goes into the same regard that whatever Sean Baker said at the end of the ceremony about indie films and indie directors. I think that is the best takeaway that anyone could have from the ceremony, that it's going to hopefully put indie film and filmmakers on a more like a bit on the front whatever. It's gonna put them into
Yeah.
focus.
It will push them beyond the
Yeah, it's
a
gonna
barrier,
start,
an invisible barrier.
People are gonna think more consciously about indie
And I think what Tuin is saying is fair. I think again, do you? So again, I think we all have a somewhat not divisive, but diversified opinion on everything, everywhere, all at once. Like some of us like it more than others. I think Sanjeet and I forgot his name. Never mind. Sanjeet likes it the most. I think is what the main thing is. So not just yet. Perhaps fair enough. I think that's fair. That it might actually
Yeah,
be a
because he's
bigger-
right. He's right about one thing.
Yeah.
I truly believe the strongest film of this entire slate of the movies that had been nominated was Nickel Boys.
I think that's a
Yeah.
common.
Yeah,
The
favorite, pick.
close second is maybe Dune Part 2, but I think in case of Nickel Boys, Ramel Ross is having a hard time now getting money or funding again for his next movie.
Sure.
So just saying, it's like
Yeah.
at this point, like, if Anora's win doesn't contribute anything, then that is a big problem.
Yeah.
And again, like I said in my story as well.
Yeah.
Like
Can
I
I just
said in my
addendum this
story
a
as
little
well.
bit, Amartya?
Bolo.
The fact that Nickel Boys was nominated at all to me is a bit
is a
of a
big
surprise.
thing. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
big thing. Yeah.
And I think it might just be because the narrative of Nickel Boys suits the Oscar narrative.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
form is totally something else because I can't see the Oscars nominating a form this quote unquote experimental, I suppose.
Yeah,
In any other way, yeah.
Like I said in my story, quote unquote, story / rant / whatever, which is kind of thing.
Story,
I think it
aapki
is
story is rant only.
Yeah. I kind of think it is becoming par for the course at this point. कि कोई ना कोई story में मैं तो कुछ मतलब
सर
rant कर
गुस्सा
दूं,
है
but
तो निकालो.
unlike you, I'm not getting cancelled for some reason.
Exactly.
I'm the biggest ranter in this entire podcast. I'm not getting
Go
cancelled.
ahead.
What the hell?
Go ahead.
Anyway, no. Like I was saying, the only relevance the Oscar somewhat has ki all these smaller films get some sort of a recognition. Because otherwise, the
Sure.
Jojo Bill Schneip, the utter putrid trash they nominate sometimes in some of these in some of these categories is like baffling to me.
Sure.
Utterly baffling. There is
I think
no
we'll.
just world. There is
Yeah.
no just world in which Wicked gets nominated for a best picture. I'm sorry, all you theater nerds really need to get your head out of your asses if you
But
think.
I
Amartya,
mean, we have one here.
They expanded the top 5, like the 5 contender list to 10, is precisely because they wanted to include more of these like high
Commercial
GP.
films, right?
Yeah.
Like sort of.
अरे
where
sir,
you can-
commercial films तो थे, Furiosa थे. What the hell?
Furiosa didn't do well.
Also,
commercial
I'm
means-
Dhruv, you are not taking a dig at me for being a theater nerd. I don't like Wicked. I'm making that very clear.
But you are you are a musical theater nerd.
I am, but I also have the sanity to realize that Wicked is a terrible
Oh yeah, so
film
yeah, I
and
guess
should
I
not
guess
have
I'll
been
clarify
nominated.
this. Wicked is my favorite out of the people who have watched it here, like apart, like amongst us, which basically means I like Ariana Grande in it. But okay,
I am
guess
not.
we'll see.
I am not a musical fan in general. I hate La La Land. I mean,
Okay,
मैं क्या
okay,
ही
So do
बोलूं?
I, but
fine. Yes.
क्या
You
ही
are
बोलूं?
with-
I'm not going.
You on this split screen. You are next
Do
to
not,
Aryan.
Aryan.
That is some whiplash.
Do not,
okay?
Aryan. Do not go and
The
try and
split
defend this.
just got wider. But no,
Yes.
the thing is that whatever Dhruv said about and whatever Amartya said about these indie films getting more appeal now.
One second.
post-Oscars, I've already seen it.
One second. Tuhin, not a Jack Demi hater. I like Umbrellas of Sharnbo. I am not a Jack Demi hater. I'm
I was
sorry.
about to say. Anyways,
No.
no, but you are allowed to do that. The only people whose sorry, Aryan, you can continue after that. Only
No,
people
no, no.
whose opinion shall not be taken seriously. Absolutely, and we will dismiss those POVs are ones who do not like Chris Marker. I will not take a single
I
word
will
out of their
send
mouth
this episode
seriously.
to my classmates. They
Who
can-
thought Chris Marker's La Jetée was mid? Quote unquote
Who
was
said
mid.
Lajete is mid? Who said Lajete is
My-
mid? Get them
my
out of anything. They
That is the
shouldn't watch
only
movies.
POV I cannot stand. Apart from that, anyone can speak anything about anything, I guess. But yeah, that's about it. But yeah, sorry, major award. Arin, you go ahead, and then we switch
No,
to the major
I'm
awards.
just
where I
saying
basically
that
will list
it's good
Yeah.
that like even if Nicole Boyce didn't win,
Yes, I think Tuhin
anything-
mentioned something right here. Sorry. yeah,
any
go ahead.
and despite Nicole Boyce not winning anything, like films like Nicole Boyce and of course Anora and A Complete Unknown, like of course all these films are getting like major, like they're upscaling the number of shows, the number it's expanding in multiple territories, at least in the US. So that's
Sure.
good. Yep.
Sure. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we are just going to go through some of the major categories, and you guys can tell me what you thought of them, I suppose. And Aryan, you are essentially the only one who's seen the ceremony, because you are the only one who has some interest.
I saw
in
the
Oscars.
summary of the ceremony. I saw some of the jokes of Conan O'Brien, which again makes me realize that he's the best late night talk show we have currently.
Yeah.
Because he's
But apparently
effortlessly
the ceremony
funny.
wasn't terrible. That's
He's
what I heard.
effortlessly funny.
Huh.
The ceremony is bland.
That
I
is
would
better
like to
than what
talk
it's
about-
been.
I would like to talk about one thing though with
Okay.
Aryan. I would like to talk about one thing. What is with the Bond ceremony?
Oh my
I was just
god.
going to say, yeah.
Everyone,
was that?
I watched it in live screening at the theater. In
What is
Brooklyn,
this?
What
okay,
was
and
that?
The Bond ceremony. The
No,
What
no,
is the
I'm
Bond
just-
ceremony?
I think it was like played out of like bittersweet sentiment that everyone just knew in the room that now it's screwed. The Bond era is basically over. So like,
Yeah. It's basically like even the Oscars are saying goodbye.
कि खत्म,
End of an era.
I mean, why do you? Yeah, exactly. That's what happened. That's what happens when I get cancelled
बुढ़ापा जब
before
होता है
Amartya.
वैसा ही होता है. बुढ़ापा जब होता है ऐसा ही होता है. We get cynical.
That was the whole thing, right? I'm joining the PPP community now.
sitting
So
with
it's
the
like
pillow
the-
behind me
PPC.
because I'm.
But
already
you
having
left
a
it.
back
No, I have to
pain.
fill in those blanks. So
No, Dhruv, Hemant, and I have officially been added to the PPC. So we are now what is called a trans inclusionary radical misogynist organization.
So we have
Jesus.
evolved. We have at least evolved. thanks to.
Anyways, I
Have
think
we though?
all these
I
things are more
know.
interesting, I suppose, than our discussion of the awards. But we will move to those because we want to essentially the 4 pictures we had on the thumbnail. We want to discuss those more, I
Yeah.
suppose, in detail. But before that, we'll just go through some of the categories. The one thing I had heard the most is Adrian Brody's speech and how it was never
5
ending.
minutes and 40 seconds. I am sorry.
I just saw a
I am
meme
sorry,
with
what
Cillian
the
Murphy just standing in the background, like waiting for the speech, and he's
Cillian Murphy is standing in the background waiting और screen में Sebastian Stan as Donald Trump का face था in the side. It's like Sebastian Stan was glaring at him. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I feel you. I'm like, I
It
feel
was
you.
5 minutes and 40 seconds of nothing. Like I listen to it right now and I'm like,
cockiness. There
why
was
is
the
it?
cockiness, no? I've been here before. Trust me, I know.
This isn't my first
You don't
rodeo.
know. Yeah.
This is my
Anyways,
first.
this is the best actor in a leading role, which had him, Amartya's favorite Timothy Chalamet, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing.
I like
Ray
Timothy
Fiennes.
Chalamet. I'm sorry. I am not saying I don't like him. Again,
Okay.
I don't know why the
See,
shade is coming.
I took the
I have more
opportunity.
shade for the brutalist. I have more shade for the
Okay,
brutalist. I
fine.
don't
We've
like that
talked
movie.
about that also, but anyways, we can.
Yeah.
I couldn't follow. Is that us, Debolina, or is that
No,
the
no, I think
Oscars?
that's the speech. I think that's the speech.
Okay,
Brody's
fine.
speech.
That's also the brutalist.
I
Actually,
was-
no, it's not.
Exactly.
You can follow it
Yes.
too much.
I
think,
actually,
to a team.
by that point in the ceremony, I had actually gotten a bit tipsy, and I still remember when the Brutalist won for cinematography. Brady Corbet who stood up and ऐसे पैंट चढ़ा रहा है, ऐसे पैंट जैसे उसका ऑस्कर है, आ गया मतलब ये तो डीओपी अभी
What,
डायरेक्टर ने
how
जाना ही है
much
मेरे को.
contempt
He's
was there
like-
in that
I
call
was
pay?
sitting in the first row. Okay, I saw his
My
face
God.
and his arrogance and like
Brady
I think
Brady
Aryan, your
Corbet,
dislike.
cinematographer, Brutalist ka
Lol
cinematographer's name is
Lol Crawley.
Lol Crawley. I'm just,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. That is the most perfect name anybody can ever have. I am
No,
sorry.
but
And
the
he's
funniest
like-
thing I saw about Adrian Brody's speech was someone said it's just like the movie. Starts out fine, has a musical interlude, and then loses its way somewhere in the second half. And I'm like, amen.
cockiness भी आ गया बीच में.
But Aryan, I think you've destroyed the Brutalist for you because you've seen too much of Brady Corbet's interview. Corbet's interview.
Corbet.
Yeah.
Corbet.
It's
Corbet.
Corbet.
Friends
We've
की
been
औलाद.
pronouncing it wrong in the episodes. It's not Corbett, as I would
Sir,
assume.
मैं
and
कॉर्बेट ही
other-
बोलूंगा.
I
शरबत
was
है. कॉर्बेट ही
for
बोलूंगा मैं.
a second, I was afraid that the Will Smith moment will be recreated. He'll just go there, punch someone, and be like, no,
Punch
this
who? Sean Baker. I think
Yeah.
people will be
Who
happy
will he
about that.
punch? That is my bigger question.
Sean Baker
Who will he-
seemed so relatively like when his name was announced, he was like as if he expected to win. I mean, of course.
मत हो गया और पेट्रोल मत डालो सर आग जल रही है ऑलरेडी काफी हम लोग
No,
के
no,
वो-
No, but
no, no.
I'm really
मतलब-
glad he
No,
won.
no. I'm going to, put the petrol here.
Of
थोड़ा
course
बहुत.
हाँ बोलो
क्योंकि Anora winning is essentially a pivot, right?
Yeah.
If EP needed to lose, they needed to give the movie to something that is relatively non-controversial.
well then you give it to Conclave.
Nah,
That's why
Conclave
even
is
I
too
thought-
mid. Conclave
I
is too
mean-
mid for them.
Conclave is the safest choice for this award.
No, it isn't.
Why is it not
It
safe?
isn't. Because the Oscars at the end of the day, jitna bhi progressive politics dikha do, they are conservatives at heart. Remember the ending of Conclave? They are not going to give it.
Yeah, but the ending is horrible.
Doesn't
Like
matter.
the
it's
way
the
it's
perception
executed
of the
is
ending.
horrible.
Yeah.
Not
It's the
ending
perception
itself
of
is
the ending.
horrible.
It's the perception of the ending. Don't you get it? If they're going to be progressive, they're going to be progressive all out. इसलिए EP को
हाँ,
18 nominations मिल गए for no reason whatsoever. That movie is horrendous. But again, who gives a shit?
We've moved on from Emilia Perez, I think. Until we mentioned the next category, which is best actor in a supporting role, was won by Zoe Saldana. How do we pronounce it?
Saldana.
Yeah.
Saldana. I've been pronouncing that wrong also, so I apologize. I've been
To
calling
whom?
it,
Saldana?
to you guys. So
Why?
मुझे माफ करो, please. Zoe Saldana.
This
yes.
is like you are having the Pavlovian effect. कोई बेल बजा रहा है और कुत्ता दौड़ के आ रहा है. This is like
अब
you
तो
are
मैं
also
हर
having
चीज
the
में सॉरी
Pavlovian-
बोलूंगा सर
Yeah,
जो मैं सॉरी
exactly.
बोलता था ना पहले वो बहुत काम आता था so it's that essentially anyway No. The best supporting role female, I think Zoe Saldana, Monica.
Monica Barbaro should have won. I am saying it
Okay,
right
for
now.
Yeah, she should
What?
have
a
won.
complete unknown.
Really?
Okay.
Really?
I liked her, man. I don't like the
She
movie that much,
barely
but I
had
really liked
anything
her.
to do in that film.
So
I rewatched it.
imagine my surprise कि इतना impactful लगा मुझे.
I actually liked Complete Unknown on a rewatch, but anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Liked it
Interesting.
more. Sorry. Yeah.
I would have given the award to Ariana Grande, but sure.
No.
Sir, no.
Filmfare होता तो
Like,
पक्का
person-
मिलता अनन्या
Filmfare
पांडे
होता
जी को.
पक्का मिलता. Filmfare होता पक्का
Kidding,
मिलता.
यार. It's
Bollywood
fine.
का
I'm
अनन्या
just-
पांडे.
वो
I'm
मानिक
just going-
चंद nothing to hide award दे दो उसको.
Okay, I'm just kidding. Okay, Felicity Jones was also there. Isabella
Felicity Jones,
Rossellini for
we
controversy.
know why Felicity Jones did not win because the Academy voters didn't finish the movie. Second half तक
Oh.
पहुंचे ही नहीं.
Okay, fair. Okay, I think we are done with that. Best actor supporting role. I don't know if we need to discuss much. I guess people really liked Guy Pearce more than even Adrian Brody sometime in Brutalist. So I guess that was the other choice. Kieran Culkin,
Because he
everyone
was
loves.
at least
so
acting. Guy Pearce was acting. Adrian Brody was just like.
Living
liked
the role
Adrian
क्या?
Brody a lot
He
in the
was
film,
living
but-
the role क्या?
Yeah,
I mean, I really
kind of.
liked Adrian Brody in
No
the film. But
comments.
anyways.
No, I also liked Adrian Brody in the movie. I genuinely think he's the reason to watch the movie. But again, supporting role category fraud. Par for
I
the course
mean,
at this point. Category fraud.
What does this mean?
I mean,
Devanina?
both-
Sorry, I don't know. Is this
The
like
Okay, I will explain.
Ah.
Please do. Otherwise,
because
मेरा
we did on the
explanation
red
मेरा
carpet.
explanation
No,
अलग ही
no.
जाता. But
Which
Technically did
year
on the
was
red
it,
carpet,
Amartya?
but
Which year was
2002.
this?
Oh, he won for the
2003.
movie
Correct.
directed by that
When he won-
by
Roman
that
Polanski.
monster.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
monsters.
When he
Monsters
won, he was the person presented the award by Halle Berry, who he kissed on the stage when he got the award, and there was a lot of
okay.
speculation that the kiss was non-consensual, and obviously it's
Okay.
done very publicly, so there was a lot of controversy around it. And so that is what Deblina is talking about. Though now apparently it has gotten mitigated because on the red carpet, Halle Berry
They did it
came,
again, yeah.
apologized to his wife, and kissed
Halle
him
Berry
again.
came, apologized to his
Congratulations.
wife, and then kissed him full face.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
like,
like
okay,
doubling
nice.
down- Brutal
I,
is
I
like
think
nice.
I think
on the
Adrian Brody
same-
का वो किस्सा तो explainable हो सकता है जिस डायरेक्टर के साथ वो काम कर रहा था उस बेसिस पे बट अब
wow,
अब का नहीं
ये
पता।
क्या पोलंस्की शेड है?
च्युइंगम फेंका उसमें कंसेंट नहीं मांगा उसमें लोग ये क्या है
Exactly. It's similar to basically Ajay Devgan throwing gutka out of his face to somebody. It's kind of that only.
Anyways, I guess everyone likes Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain, so we shouldn't harp on anything.
I like the
else.
movie. I like the movie.
You like the movie. You like
Nice
the movie. All
movie.
three of you like the movie. So yeah, great for you guys and for him.
I
will
can
never
understand
watch
why
that
you
movie
don't like
again.
the movie. I think many
Yeah,
people
I
are
will-
saying
I'm
that it
happy
is
to-
comparable to Succession, but Succession ka performance. But I don't think that's the case.
I'm
I think
happy
there
to
are
not,
enough differences.
Yeah, I think we've talked about A Real Pain a little bit here and there. But if you guys want to, I'm happy to let you guys talk about it and I can shut up.
No, I
found
want
it
to
very
talk.
annoying.
I want to talk about two movies here. जिसके लिए
Okay.
मुझे थोड़ा time चाहिए. इसलिए
ठीक है.
I'm
So
not
I'll
going to
just
waste time.
run through the others. Best animated feature, which Amartya really loves Flow, right? I think,
Yes,
Amartya,
I
you
saw
love
it with
Flow
my
the most.
nephews. I saw it with my nephews.
You made your
I-
nephews watch a silent film. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, they loved it.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
I really loved it.
Yeah, it's
And
Okay.
it's beautifully done. I mean, CSD. I mean, if I had a choice between that and Wild Robot, I genuinely thought nothing could top the Wild Robot, and then I saw Flow.
Okay. So yeah, I think animated. I think I was talking with Chris that for both of us, any of these would have been fine. Like the award
What
went to
else were
anyone.
nominated?
Memoir of a Snail, I didn't like, but a lot of people love. So it's one of those
Okay.
things where
Okay.
it's understandable why people love it. Also, it's not like.
And Inside Out 2, obviously, क्योंकि Disney को तो एक देना पड़ेगा.
But that they didn't get it, which is strange considering, especially the amount of
They
money
haven't
it
been
made.
getting it. They haven't been getting it for the past 3 years. Which
Yeah,
is
but their
also
movies
something.
haven't been doing that well. No, this is like the big money spinner that's
it's a
come out
sequel
recently.
so maybe
It's a sequel. That's why.
Yeah, I suppose. Anyways, so that's Flow for you
And
and
Wallace
best right.
and Gromit.
Sorry.
Wallace
Wallace and
Gromit.
Gromit. We did. I don't think any of us have watched.
Vengeance Most Foul.
Vengeance Most
Vengeance
Foul.
Most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to see it because I'm a Wallace and Gromit fan. I really want
Sure.
to see that movie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Chris refuses to see stop motion. So yes. Sorry, I just had to
Amazing.
mention
ये कैसा shade है?
No, Not
finds it
stop motion.
creepy.
I'm not a fan of claymation.
Claymation.
Let's
Okay,
be
fine.
particular.
Okay.
Best writing adapted screenplay was Conclave 1. I think this is maybe where you can also talk about Nickel Boys because that was nominated. Other nominations were Emilia Perez. We've talked about that.
Thank God. No. I think Nickel Boys could have taken this if they
I
wanted
mean, it could
to.
have
They could
taken
have
even best film and director. He should have been in director, so definitely. I think.
नहीं
but
वो लोग तो
anyways.
देने नहीं वाले हैं ना. I'm just
yeah,
talking about कुछ अगर मिलता.
I think
ये
Conclave
मिल
had
सकता.
a bigger push awards wise in general, right? So Nickel Boys
It's a very,
is
very flashy screenplay dominated movie.
no, but I think Varun had read the Conclave book and didn't like it, and he thought that they did a
Movie
better
was
job of
better.
adapting it.
Yeah.
So and from whatever little I've read, Nickel Boys is a much different film than its
Than the
source
book.
material.
Yeah.
Like it's a proper like adaptation
POV,
of a screenplay. So it's one of those things how they've contended with it. But anyways, that best cinematography, Lol Crawley, as you said, won for The Brutalist.
The Brutalist, yes.
Yeah. Greg Fraser, I think, is the bigger, I guess, snub.
Dune
for
Part 2
winner.
itself
Did he
is the
win for
biggest
Dune?
snub. I
Greg
think
Fraser
technical
won for
awards
Dune?
में दो है. I think
Sound
One-
and visual
Did
effects.
Fraser win
sound
for
and visual
Dune
effects. Yeah.
Part 1?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Part 1 he won.
yeah, Greg Fisher. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Part 2 क्यों नहीं मिला? Part 2 क्यों नहीं मिला? राम जाने. पर चलो ठीक है. Brutalist को देना पड़ेगा तो. Anyway.
Anyways, other nominations
Vista
were
Vision,
Vista
Vista
Vision,
Vision. Vista Vision में full close up face पे दिखाएंगे. उनका औलाद. Anyway, continue.
For more Brutalist shade, look forward to the episode which is coming this week, where you also hear a lot of praise for Megalopolis. Anyways, cinematography, other noms were Emilia Perez, Maria, Ed Lachman, which is becoming a regular thing. Like, even though the films don't get nominated for much else, the Ed Lachman cinematography does, because he also got nominated for the Pablo Larraín vampire film.
Pablo Larraín vampire movie, which I like.
Yeah. El Conde, right? I think that was
El
the name.
Conde, yeah. I really like
and
that
then
movie.
And then everyone else's favorite Jaron Blaschke got nominated for Nosferatu. Which,
Oh, yeah.
If I had my say, that would probably go in my least favorite. But anyways,
Below
a
Emilia
lot of people
Perez.
love it.
Below
I
Emilia
hate
Perez
the
नहीं हो
cinematography
सकता.
of Emilia Perez, but I think my thing with Jaron Blaschke and both Eggers is that I've liked their one film so much that the fact that they've shifted into this domain of shooting everything in one single unified
Take.
way is sort of has become very burdensome for me, at least. I don't find it productive. I love their variations on sort of old classic, close-ups and cuts and everything, which they did a plenty in Lighthouse and The Witch. So they've moved away from that in the Northman.
Maybe Eggers got
and
tired.
Nosferatu.
Maybe Eggers is like मुझे नहीं
Which is
करना
fair.
इतना cut.
Which is fair, I don't know, but like, okay, it's just a personal sort of thing where I don't like that brand of cinematography that much. Best music was Shantanu Moitra for Three Idiots.
I was, thank God. I was legit going to post that story right after that. I was like, oh, God.
Shantanu Moitra should sue them. Shantanu Moitra should
Yeah.
sue them. at this
the
point.
the opening notes of the overture are very much जाने नहीं
I
देंगे
told
तुझे,
you.
as you said, yes.
नहीं, बहुत recurrent भी है.
Because it's it's almost like a theme, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yes, it's not just Daniel Bloomberg, it's Shantanu Moitra and Daniel Bloomberg for The Brutalist, I suppose.
Choice,
Then the other nomination.
At least one of them earned $1 for the movie.
He earned a lot of dollars for that, I think.
Yeah.
But anyways, other nominations, I just don't understand this. You guys like the score for Edward Berger movies. Conclave again got
I don't.
nominated.
Yeah.
I don't remember the score for this movie though.
I don't remember it
The
either.
scores are
It was-
so evident though. He like completely overuses scores in all of his movies.
I think
in
it
both of his
worked in
movies.
this movie better.
More than
regarding
that
the
one,
pulp.
yes, I think.
Yeah. But that movie is
Very much.
obnoxious, yeah.
The alternate opinions exist
No comment.
that have been
No
voiced
comment.
before.
No comment. Yes.
EP was nominated, of course. Wicked was
Of course.
nominated. And The Wild Robot. good
musical
music.
getting
I don't-
nominated score for
it's-
score.
it's
What a
ridiculous.
fucking
It's-
surprise.
It's ridiculous. They nominated Wicked for score and not Dune Part 2.
Dune
because
Part
the
2, yeah.
reasoning was like, oh, you're reusing the music
Reusing
from-
the music.
And
I'm like, wait.
wow.
और यहाँ क्या हो रहा है? और यहाँ क्या हो रहा है?
Yeah,
Crazy.
absolutely. So I think that's basically all the major stuff I have. Just going to list the winners for these, just because if you have any other options, whatever things you guys say that. Production design, Wicked one. Sound, Dune Part 2. Music, as in the song, was El Mal by Emilia Perez.
No, thank
Gross
you.
mistake in not
गाना
giving it
गा
to
रहे थे, गाना
La
गाने जा रहे थे,
Vaginoplastia.
and they were rushed out of the stage. I'm like, nice.
Lavaginoplastia was snubbed.
Yeah, La Vaginoplastia was snubbed. That is the song of the year.
That is the song of the decade. I'm sorry.
I loved how the director kept hovering in the background while the speech was. He was like, "मेरे को थोड़ा दे दो space." पता है
What,
director
everyone
नहीं
went up on stage for El Malo, what?
Yeah.
It's just three of them.
Three
Oh,
of
three
them.
of them. Okay. Three
And
as
they
in Carla
started
Sofia
singing in the middle
Gascon
of
was
their
allowed.
No, Carla Sofia Gascon को घुसने मिला वही बहुत है.
Acha, okay. ठीक है. Costume design was again wicked. Makeup and hairstyling was the substance.
Substance. The only award this movie got.
See, Amartya, it got nominated. That's a huge thing. It's a horror,
You know, that
like
I
a yucky horror
actually
movie.
agree. That I
Yeah.
100% agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Visual effects, Dune Part 2.
Two.
So yeah, that's all the stuff which we sort of want to brush over because I think we've either discussed them somewhere or we will always get an opportunity to discuss these. The rest of this episode is about sort of some individual films and some categories I think which usually get overlooked in both the popularity and everything. So the first one is best documentary feature. I think that's I think we have a mixed selection of what all we've watched. So
Yes.
we are just going to put that out first. The 5 nominees were Black Box Diaries, which I've seen. I don't think any of you have seen.
I have seen a quarter maybe. I was
Okay.
liking it with I
Okay.
lost
Sugar
interest, yeah.
Cane, which none of us have seen.
I have not seen.
think.
No.
No Other Land, which Aryan and Amartya have seen.
Yep.
Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, which me and Amartya have seen, and Porcelain War, which none of us have also seen.
None of us have seen yet.
Nothing we have to say about Porcelain War and Sugarcane because we've not seen them yet. I think Sugarcane is available on Hotstar here.
Hotstar,
it's a
yes.
Disney Plus.
It's a Disney
everywhere.
Plus acquisition. Yes.
Porcelain War, I don't think is available officially anywhere.
Officially anywhere, unofficially it is available almost everywhere. If you guys want, anybody wants, they can DM us. We can
I've
send them.
heard, I've only watched one of these as through it, but I've heard that the documentary category is like very, like comparatively the weakest in years, right?
No.
No?
I would say it is the
I would-
strongest.
Really?
Within this year, I think this is one of the strong. I mean, I've
One
liked
of the
two of them a
strongest.
lot, but then I've not seen No Other Land still, which I believe Amartya you really liked, right? You watched
I
it
really
pretty
liked
much.
it. Yeah.
I'm surprised at one actually, given that it's not
Yeah.
gotten any distributor.
So let's talk about No Other
Amazon.
Land.
Let's
first,
talk
I
about
think,
No Other Land. I just
Yeah.
saw it, I think 1 hour ago, 2 hours
Yeah.
ago I had finished it. Yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah. Again, like I said, it's like when Zone of Interest came out, people were putting one phrase everywhere, right? That was the talked about phrase, banality of evil and all that stuff. This documentary basically says this is what banality of evil actually looks like, then takes the banality out and then just shows evil as it is. It just exists.
Yeah.
It's like how colonization exists to such an extent that a war that had been going on, that an enmity between two races had been, it's almost like a race war at this point, which has been going on for centuries
Yeah.
and has now become so toxic to such an extent that one sect is determined to remove the other sect from their entire existence. It doesn't matter to them anything. And the only way you can show something as impactful as this is not through the bigger picture, it's through the personal and it's through the smaller moments.
Yep.
Because only then can that be highlighted.
Yeah.
And then
The
you
fact-
realize it will only cover things that happened up until 2023. And then you realize what absurdity and barbarity has happened since then.
Then, yeah.
It's oh my god. Yeah.
It's
It's
interesting
utter,
that
it's
go
utter
ahead.
barbaric. It's utterly barbaric
That one
because
scene from Amitya, the last thing I'll say.
no, continue.
That
Yeah.
one scene in the school where
Yeah.
in the middle of a class everyone's just packing, like kids, actual kids are they're just starting to pack their things, and you can see how minimally they have like the school, of how it's functioning. They have built it themselves. Okay. And they start packing it, and in the background you see bulldozers approaching while they are still in there. And
The
oh my,
soldiers come and they shut the
shut
door,
out. Yeah.
locking the kids in. And the
Yeah.
kids have to escape through the windows, and the soldiers are standing there nonchalantly
So
while
can
bulldozers are
I
coming. Yeah,
can I
continue.
ask you how is all this shot? Is this shot through like
Handled.
a
Handled.
handle? So like there's one
Handled.
Phone
person
and
like
camera.
is there like because it's a I just
It's
want to clarify
cutting back
it's
and forth. Okay, it's cutting
okay
back and forth between mobile cam and handle cam, and then
yeah
it's also cutting back to another person shooting the entire sequence along with our two directors, Yuval Abraham and Basil Adara. I think that's
uh.
his name. I'm sorry
No,
if
they are
I'm
not
pronouncing it
directors.
wrong.
The directors are
There are four
someone
directors.
no
There are
yeah I
four
mean there
directors.
are four directors. Okay, fine. Okay,
Yeah, there are four directors.
okay.
So the other two directors, I am presuming, are shooting Basil and Yuval, both of them, while
Basil
they are
is the
conversing.
Palestinian and
Basil is the
Yuval is
Israel.
the
Palestinian and Yuval
Israeli.
is the
Yeah,
Yeah.
Israeli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
So the movie is also a conversation because there is
yeah.
one line that stuck to me. Is like one of the Palestinians when when he meets Yuval, he says,
Hmm.
"You are an Israeli. Oh, you are one of those
Mm.
human rights Israelis."
Hmm.
Yeah.
That is the
Yeah,
differentiation.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I'm like, these are the little moments you
yeah,
realize
yeah.
ki how much like how much the distinctiveness is there within
Hmm.
themselves also. Ki
Yeah,
Yuval has the option to go out of the West Bank, and while driving, he has to pass a signboard that says only Israeli cars allowed.
Green
He
plates.
has the security of the
Yeah.
sect he belongs to.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's Israeli, so the soldiers are not going to harm him.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Basil doesn't even have that.
Yeah. So it's very
He
much drawing the contrast between two what rights. I think this was in the speech, which is a
drawing the
very
contrast
moving
and also
speech.
highlighting the drawing the contrast and also highlighting the similarities, because at the end of the
Sure.
day, both these sects and both these people came to this land
Hmm.
out of a shared history of oppression.
Hmm.
Yes.
And then one time the Israelis also had faced the same boat that the
Of course.
Palestinians
Yeah.
used to, because that's how history is. It flip
Hmm.
flops,
Hmm.
which is why what is currently happening is actually barbaric, because
Yeah.
it's horrifying, and
Yeah.
it's also showing the complicity of the bigger powers, and it's also showing the complicity of common men within the bigger powers, because
Sure.
us people all these film reviewers and podcasters, they're not talking about no other land beyond the fact
Hmm.
that it won an Oscar.
Hmm.
Beyond the fact that it won an Oscar, and they're not talking about it because they are
It
like,
doesn't
I
have
think
distribution in the states. So yeah,
It
that's
doesn't
I
yeah,
have
think
it.
the
Yeah.
other thing to
it
mention.
doesn't
Right.
have distribution, which is fine. Okay, it
Hmm.
doesn't have distribution. That's a hard thing to say. That's a hard thing anyway. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, you have heard about this movie other than
Hmm.
David Ehrlich, other than
Hmm.
David Ehrlich and a couple of other critics. I haven't
Hmm.
heard anybody talk about this movie.
Hmm.
None
Hmm.
whatsoever.
Hmm.
Anytime somebody asks them this question, they are like, "This is too complicated a question. I don't think I'm in the position to answer." I'm like, "Are you
Hmm.
kidding me?
Hmm.
Are you kidding me with this?"
Yeah.
You guys had the zone of interest, and you guys were celebrating it, and even then you guys were celebrating it with a tad bit of hesitation.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, because
And
I
also
think because I think it's locked to history, so it's easier to
yeah,
celebrate. This
it's
isn't.
easier
This
to
is
celebrate because there is a dissociation here. There is no dissociation here because it is
yeah,
currently happening. It is
yeah,
happening right now as we
yeah,
speak,
yeah,
whatever is going on. So it's like,
yeah. So
damn.
I'll whatever you guys said. Of course, I mean I saw I think 5-10 minutes the opening only of the film, and I thought because we've seen a bunch of films recently which are based on current events, but that sort of for me always have the issue greater than. And I don't mean the form needs to be some sensational thing which we will get to in one of our favorite documentaries also. But other films, I think 20 Days in Maripol won last year, which I think we, at least Amartya and me, had issues with in the way it was sort of tackling its,
Mm.
the way it was documenting the war. Aryan talked about 15 days that happened, rest 5 days. It doesn't have any. It's been very,
I would
we
like to
slept.
clarify something though. I would
Yeah.
like to clarify something though. I just said that both these races share a shared history of oppression. I don't think that is correctly actually voicing out. I
Okay.
would just like to say ki, unlike I would just like to say ki the Israelis especially have a history of oppression. They have gone
Hmm.
through a lot. So
Yes.
considering that, the sheer lack of any sort of kindness or anything
Yeah,
resembling empathy towards the Palestinians is utterly baffling.
yeah.
It is
I think it's
horrifying, and that's what
I
evil
mean,
seems to be.
yeah. I
It's
think
utterly baffling.
again I think we mentioned in the upcoming episode how Aryan and Chris both weren't fans of September 5 that much, which sort of also centers
I
on this
need to see that
conflict.
movie. Yeah, I
Yeah.
need to see that movie.
But I would definitely just say whatever Amartya has voiced and Aryan has voiced right now about No Other Land, and this sort of conflict that has been brewing and that sort of has become so poisonous. I think Steven Spielberg's Munich really gets to the heart of it in many ways, and it spans over a fairly extensive period of time, and it's one of his most cynical films, and I think
The
it earns its
conflict, the
cynicism.
the conflict which we are currently seeing has been spanning for decades.
Yes.
It is rising through a history that is spanning, I think, centuries.
Centuries. Yeah.
Yes.
Centuries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
just want to
it's
also
very
flag up,
complicated.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a sort of co-production or co-directorial effort between Palestine and Israelis. In this case, there's another film which I had to see last year, or I saw
Stories from
last year.
Gaza.
No, no, this is called Five Broken Cameras. This is an older film which has been nominated for an Oscar. I don't think it won that year, but that's another collaboration between a Palestinian and uh, Israeli. And the film is essentially about. I'll just flag it up here and put it as a recommendation or whatever. But it sort of links directly, I suppose, to No Other Land. But Five Broken Cameras is about chronicling essentially five different cameras of a Palestinian that he documented like through time, that it shows the progression of violence in the Gaza Strip where he was located. So I think it's
Hmm.
centered entirely
I,
on that, and the framework is of the
I
five
think
cameras.
while No Other Land doesn't extensively cover this, it
Hmm.
does highlight a very simple thing: कि monolithizing the two sects is also wrong, because
Sure.
there is an Israeli, you know, called a human rights Israeli, but at
Hmm.
the end of the day, there are Israelis who aren't against Palestinians.
Yes, of
Similarly,
course.
Palestinians also don't belong to Hamas only. So,
Of
you
course. Yeah.
can't monolithize an entire race,
Yeah.
but I can also understand, looking at the extent of the violence and the
Of
extent of
course.
complicity of other bigger countries
Yeah. And
Desperation
to
to do
complicity,
propagate,
of
something.
course, never means that you're taking direct action, right? Inaction
to prop
itself is a form of
inaction
complicity in
itself
many
is a
ways, right?
complicity,
So,
but then again there are other bigger countries
of
which
course.
should be a good way to
I think
segue into
I
the,
was about
yeah,
to say it dovetails rather perfectly into
rather
soundtrack to a coup
perfectly
d'etat.
soundtrack to a coup d'etat, which I
Is
am
your
not
one
at
of
all
your
hesitating.
favorites? I think.
I am
Yeah.
not at all hesitating to say it is one of the best films of 2024. It is a
Yeah.
master class in editing. I
Yeah.
haven't seen this good editing in a while.
Yeah. I think in the upcoming episode I do mention that it's one of the easiest editing things. Like, if you have to award
If you
something for
have to
editing,
give
it's
an
the
award to
easiest.
something, you should give an award
Yeah.
to this.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
The amount of so Amartya, do you want to
yeah,
kind of,
I would
it's a
like to, yes.
complicated story. It's not just, I have it written down, so let me search whatever I had written down if I can find that. But yeah, go ahead, whatever, because you just finished it. So
So this is about the Congo crisis.
yes.
Basically, it's about the exploitation of Africa by other bigger nations, because Africa had
Hmm.
always been a mine, literally and figuratively, a mine
Hmm.
of resources.
Yeah.
And bigger nations,
Hmm.
especially Europe, due to their colonization efforts, never wanted to get out of the chokehold of Africa because of the resources they could mine from Africa.
Yeah.
So the quote unquote decolonization efforts of Europe,
Hmm.
what this movie is showing is the decolonization of Africa is would be getting further and further complicated for Europe and America, because by the time Africa and all the nations within Africa are getting their freedom, the members of the United Nations start to realize that Africa has a much more powerful voice than what a United States or what a
Hmm.
Russia or what a France actually has,
Yeah.
because that one continent itself houses so many of these nations.
I think it
And
also
that,
includes the Indian sort of uprising of the
yeah,
non-Western,
the non-aligned
big,
movement, the non-aligned
yes,
movement basically,
yeah,
which had India, which had South America, which had
hmm.
Egypt in a
I
way.
think
So
Castro also is there, right?
Castro, Cuba,
Yeah,
basically, yeah. So
Cuba, yeah,
Castro was there.
hmm.
So all that stuff you have, and
Hmm.
but again, the centerpiece of all this was the Congo Belt.
Yes.
especially the Katanga belt with the
Hmm.
Union Minier Mining Company. And
Hmm.
of course, Congo itself, like one of the voices said, ki,
Hmm.
if Africa is the gun, Congo is its trigger. Congo was
Hmm.
that important in a geopolitical sense, and Congo was
Yeah.
being led by Patrice Lumumba.
Yeah.
And this entire documentary is
Hmm.
about the attempt of the coup
Hmm.
d'etat, and the attempt to overthrow Patrice Lumumba from
Hmm.
power,
Yeah.
and
And how sort
how
of different forces in history collide together to do that,
collide together
essentially.
and collaborate together. This
Yeah.
is a very complicated history. It is also a very intriguing history. If
Yeah.
somebody has to learn history,
Hmm.
I would have never thought you were going to learn history through jazz,
Yeah.
because that's what they're doing. They
Yeah.
are utilizing jazz from literally all the decades,
Yeah.
and they're intermixing it through everywhere to show both the origin of jazz and also to show the different rhythm of jazz, and utilizing that as a narrative structure, because it is
Yeah.
exquisitely done
Yeah.
how they're doing it. It's like a research paper being brought to life. I know that sounds very weird to say, but it's like everywhere there are book excerpts,
Yeah.
reference points, and everything. It's like a geek. It's like the most geekiest thing ever
Yeah.
if you are interested in geopolitics. But even if you
But
are not,
directed with like a proper energy and
proper
propulsiveness.
So
energy and
it's like
I think
suppression undercut by the release of music, basically
yeah, yeah,
art.
music very much is a
I
sort of
don't even think I don't even think it's suppression. I think music is the backbone. I think music
yes.
is the rhythm.
Yeah,
Okay,
Music
I
is the
think he
rhythm.
says
Sound
na
is the
there
rhythm.
is something like
formally.
Yeah.
music. I think it's the politics is my rhythm or some. There is some line like that. Like it's essentially music and politics. Sometimes how that music becomes a tool for revolutionary politics
Yeah,
and
it's
how
agit pop. It's
yeah, yeah.
agit pop basically. Yeah.
But it's also about how others, in this case the US and UN, use or rig that music to their rhythm, or their political
Yeah,
rhythm
because that's
in
how
many
that's
ways.
how Louis Armstrong was being sent to in
Yeah, like jazz
1960.
people essentially go as spies, like without their own knowledge
They
sometimes,
were unwitting spies, because
unwitting spies. Yeah.
while those functions would be going on, the CIA would be
Hmm.
like, it's very clearly revealed that the CIA would organize these festivals or these
Yeah.
concerts, and
Hmm.
while people were busy in those concerts, the CIA would organize covert operations to extract uranium and all those nuclear
Yeah.
materials and everything what they
It
can.
links to your Oppenheimer also, actually, Aryan. Like it links to the whole nuclear it's the annihilation and the how much the material the uranium was actually extracted from
It's also very clever
Congo, right?
because it's also very clever because it is editing. Like, the editing is so clever because every time all these things is going on, it suddenly cuts to an iPhone, it suddenly cuts to a Tesla,
Oh yeah.
because it is also telling you ki all the minerals that you are
Hmm.
using
Hmm.
currently with your phones and your technology, almost 90% of the minerals are coming from there, all the conflict
Yeah.
nations.
Yeah. So it's
So
it's
that's what it
it's
is.
one of those, like,
It's
dense. It's
extremely dense.
incredibly dense, and it's very easy for me to like I can totally understand if they don't catch its rhythm, they can feel alienated just by the number of things being given to them. But I was very much, and I think same with Amartya, because of the editing, because of the way it's put together. It's more like
Like,
you
I was
kind of
like,
feel lost in that whirlpool
this
of
feels like,
information.
for me, this felt like an academia paper being shown in the most entertaining way possible, and it's
Yeah.
almost like connecting so many disparate threads.
Hmm.
Music, politics, geography,
Hmm.
culture, everything you're connecting.
Past,
And
present, everything's
past,
mixed, right?
present,
It's not like
everything. Yeah.
a there's
Yeah, yeah.
nothing. This is like the opposite of a dry documentary. Like whatever
Yeah, yeah.
people accuse documentaries of, I think this is essentially the opposite. It
If
uses
you
form
if the
in the most
intent of a
fascinating way.
documentary is to educate, the intent of a documentary is to educate, do it like this.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing. You educate
Yeah.
not just through narrative or content, but through form also. I mean,
True form.
I'm really wanting to go back to it, not to like digest the information, but to sort of get the feeling, because
Yeah.
of
I
how
also
angry
want to
it made me
rewatch, which
feel,
is
or
which is
it's one of
saying
those things.
something. I want
It's
to
two and a
rewatch,
half
which
hours
is saying
long, so it's
something.
not like a
Yeah, it's
short
two and
film
a half
also.
hours. It's
It's
not like a short documentary, but yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's something. It's
beautiful,
really
amazing
something.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing stuff.
yeah.
Uh,
I
so
don't have
yeah,
any other
these two.
Black
Uh,
Box Diaries. I watched. I liked. It's. I would say
what?
it's very much. covering material which I think again it's one of those things which is a rebellion through the act of documenting in many ways. This whole thing where Japan's legal system, especially relating to sort of assault and rape, is awful, and how archaic it is, and how difficult it is for a person or journalistic power to get a sense of justice. Again, lots of similar themes of oppression and everything. I think it has a scrappy feel to it, like it's got a scrapbook sort of feel to it, where it feels like you're covering one person's struggles through time uh, in sort of snippets. I would have personally liked for it to sort of be longer in many ways, to sort of delve deeper into not just the whole defiant spirit and all that, but what maybe taking your struggle public has an effect on how your personal sort of dealing with that trauma also changes. So I don't think the film delves into that. I wanted it to delve more into that. It sort of just skims over it. So that's my only sort of thing. But it's a very well made and extremely harrowing documentary, but a very brave one for the person who made it. So it's one of
Hmm.
those documentaries which I think is definitely worth a watch. It just didn't sort of have an impact on me as, for example, soundtrack to a coup d'etat. But yeah, great stuff.
Hmm.
Other two we've not seen,
Other
so
two,
you know.
we have not seen, but I would like to watch at least Porcelain War. I've heard great things
Yeah,
about Porcelain War, so I
yeah,
would
yeah,
like to see that.
yeah. Okay. So I think that, and I think Aryan, I know that you had to leave early because of something, but I wanted to ask you, because you are the only one out of all of us who's seen I'm Still Here, which won Best International Feature. So if any particular thing you want to say, I know, I guess we'll mention a little bit, Amartya, that we both watched The Seed of the Sacred Fig and weren't huge on it.
Yeah, we weren't very much like
Yeah,
massive fans of it.
yeah.
Like I understand the intent. I like the movie until the third act.
So I think
I
that's
was
a
genuinely, yeah,
common
yeah.
break off point for a bunch of people. I think
Yeah,
that
I
one.
I was very much invested. I
Hmm.
genuinely think, while I don't think that while the dialogue is as incisive as you would expect from say a Farhadi, I
Yeah,
still think that the dialogue was potent enough and the conversations were hard hitting enough that you can follow along. And there were
yeah.
like real life footage of those incidents which was
Hmm.
spliced in, which gave an added impact. The
Yeah.
third
This
act
was Germany.
utterly
Yes.
derails it to the point that I'm like, what are you doing? It's
This
like,
is Germany
seriously.
submission, but
Yeah,
it's Mohammad Rasul of Iranian film Seed of the Sacred Fig. For whoever's unfamiliar, I know we are in the minority for not loving it, because a lot of people do love it. So I just want to
a
point that
lot of
out.
people do love it. I would
So
really like to watch I'm Still Here, but
yeah, Aryan,
I
you can go ahead, and then
It's
you
I'm still here, like the first 40, 50 minutes.
Walter
I think
Sells,
it's,
Brazilian film.
yeah,
Sorry, just to yeah.
first 40, 50 minutes,
for
I think
people
is
who are unfamiliar, I'm sorry,
incredible.
Aryan, to interrupt. I'm sorry,
The
Aryan.
motorcycle film, right?
The Motorcycle
Yeah,
Diaries.
yeah, yeah.
For
Sure.
people who are familiar about Walter Sells,
Hmm.
he was the one who directed that movie. Anyway, continue. Yeah.
A lot of similarities from his earlier work, but I think it's like the first 40, 50 minutes. I think it is not just like, it is one of the most mesmerizingly investing hours I've watched in the cinema this year.
Hmm.
I think I said, I spoke about A Different Man in the similar veins back when we did that episode, which will be releasing this week, as Dhruv said.
Yeah.
But I think like the first 40, 50 minutes of I'm Still Here, it's incredible, not just in terms of how good and wholesome the filmmaking is,
Hmm.
and it's showing its dynamics of the family, the interdynamics and everything, but because it's like basically, there's a time bomb sitting under the table where you
Hmm.
know what's going to happen, you know what the story is based on, the actual story, you have heard about these things.
Hmm.
A there's great use of background through the foreground, with the military trucks passing through the roads by the beach side
Hmm.
during those first 40, 50 minutes, and then the big thing happens 50
Okay.
minutes into the film. And then the second act is much more about Fernanda Torres's character just holding it back, being the only
Sure.
anchor of the family, the
Hmm.
supportive financial anchor of the family. And then you see it deteriorate, and you see the optimism being deteriorated, but to an extent where there's still a slither of hope that she's clinging on to. And that hope in itself, the way it comes back, I think it's revealed in the trailers as well as in the best
Okay.
actress clip that
I
they
think it's
showed for the
releasing
movie.
next week,
But
right?
Yeah.
online officially?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so, in a week or two. But I won't spoil it for you guys if you have
Hmm.
not seen it. But there's something that happens in the last act. It's
Hmm.
very conventional. It's a very conventional like narrative. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's why it's so beloved. I don't think there's
Yeah.
anyone I've seen who's disliked or like who's been like mild on the film.
Hmm.
But something happens in the third act, and then you see that that's the hope she was been clinging on to, and then
Sure.
it is very traditional in the Oscar.
Classical
And
narrative,
yeah,
I've heard it's very
but
traditional in that
these
way.
are
Yeah.
like, if anything, like that's what Amartya and I talked about. That's why we love films like The Juror Part Number Two so much this year, that we want these kind of
There is
films
a
back.
reason. There is a reason why classical narratives actually work.
Yeah, like,
Yep.
just give me more of these.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good film. And of course, I've said this before, everyone has been saying this for a year. Fernanda Torres is the best performance from 2024,
Sure.
easily, hands down.
Hmm.
Okay. Aryan, have you seen any of the shorts or no?
No, I was supposed to go to those
Oh, you were supposed to go
screenings,
to
but
the short.
I couldn't because of work. Yeah.
Okay,
There,
okay.
there's
So
still
you.
there's still screening a lot of them. Like some theaters are just doing animated shorts. Some theater are doing like both live action and animated,
Yeah, yeah,
2.5 or 3 hours in total. But yeah, I
yeah.
would love to see them.
Okay.
Hopefully this week.
You are allowed to leave then. No, I think because we're just going to discuss the shorts. I know you had to leave early.
वो
That's why you had.
Yeah.
क्या dismissal है?
No, no. Aryan
क्या
told me that he had
dismissal
work.
है?
No, no. Like if you want to hang around, you are most welcome to. But
I
I know that
wish
you had
someone
work.
would have said that to to Adrian Brody. Perhaps
Oh
Killian.
God.
You are allowed to leave now. Thank you.
Okay.
We'll
No,
see
no,
you
no.
in your third film about.
Somebody should have cut to John Lithgow ka disappointed face.
Oh yeah, right.
Absolutely.
At Ray Fiennes not
Then
winning.
people would have called him anti.
No, John Lithgow ka disappointed face was the bit of Conan O'Brien. Conan was like, every time somebody says a speech, somebody's speech goes too long, we will cut to John Lithgow's disappointed face.
Okay.
I'm
He's
like,
also
Adrian
been
Brody ka
cast
ho
for
raha hai, you are not
Dumbledore, right?
cutting.
He's been
Yeah.
cast to play Dumbledore.
He's been
right?
cast
Yeah.
as the new Dumbledore.
That's not doing him good PR. But anyways.
But for what?
The new Harry
What-
Potter series.
Yeah.
Which new Harry Potter series?
Oh God.
You are
Oh
living in a
God,
bubble.
Of course I am. That's why I'm
There is
wrong
a
all the
new-
time.
There is a new Harry Potter series which is supposed
In
to come out in
production.
2026.
Why?
Because
Because it's an
IP.
IP
Yeah,
and Warner
Rolla.
Brothers are desperate.
The Fantastic Beasts खत्म.
Of course it is. कोई पैसा नहीं है,
अच्छा.
कुछ नहीं है,
So
कौन
when
देखेगा?
is this? So this is also set prequel.
No, this is basically
No.
remake. Every season is basically one of the movies of Harry Potter.
Look at the
Yeah.
Remake.
No curse child. No curse child.
No, so season 1 is basically Harry Potter ka first movie. Season 2 will be Harry Potter ka second
World
movie.
building,
Season
sir.
3 will be Harry
Long
Potter ka
form
third movie.
storytelling.
Basically.
Come on.
Are
Except
you
it will be for
fucking
8
kidding
hours.
me?
Yeah.
Don't say anything, sir. I love Harry Potter.
Don't say
which is why
anything.
I'm afraid. Yeah.
We are Harry Potter
They are
fans and we
hobbitifying
can't stand the
are they
news.
hobbitifying the Lord of the Rings thing essentially?
They are the seven ringing of the Harry Potter.
They are rings of powering. The rings of powering Harry Potter basically.
I don't worry, Aryan. I will go back to Harry Potter, if not just to restore my trust in and faith in Mr. Coron.
John Williams and Coron. Yeah. Chris
But
Columbus
yes.
also, yeah. Come on.
As somebody who grew up
No, I
reading the-
lost
as
my faith
somebody,
in Coron this year. No, so
Right.
after disclaimer, yeah.
yeah.
As somebody who has grown up reading Harry Potter, not exactly a fan of the author for her views, but as somebody who has grown up reading Harry Potter and watching the movies, this is such a bad idea of epic proportions I can't even believe.
Amazing. Aryan and Amartya
Anyways.
and Chris, if he wants to, will deep dive on this whenever it releases.
I am not going to watch it. I don't like Harry Potter, and I obviously do not like J.K. Rowling, so I'm good.
Yeah.
I think
Alright,
that's
alright.
okay. Then
You guys
Amartya and Aryan are there. for you.
Continue. I'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah.
Best of luck with your exams. or
Thank
whatever.
you. Mid-sems, yeah.
Yes. And happy belated happy belated
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Happy belated happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Aryan. Anyways, shorts. Chris, sorry you had to stay shut up
Yes.
for so much.
No, I
but I
told
think
you
you're
only
used to
you
it
guys
now.
had-
I think, right? Twitter पे आप यही करते हो.
Let's not go there. I think.
Yes. I think
But
we should.
yes, I
no
watched
one should
all of-
go there. I think.
Are people already like losing their minds due to the live stream? क्योंकि मैंने कि इन लोगों को गालियाँ वालियाँ दे दिया है.
I saw some of it, but I'm not going to talk about it. Let us just move on.
You
I
saw
did
some of it as
binge
in?
all of the shots.
Some of it as in
as some of the reactions. We will get to those later privately. I don't want to talk about them
Okay.
live. The point
Oh,
is,
acha.
I binged all of the shots day before and yesterday. And I watched Anuja this morning because I got to class early and I decided to torture myself. So,
Woof.
This is best
yeah,
live
so I
action,
have
right?
opinions. Yes, that is. So we
Okay.
can start with best live action, which was given to easily, I think, the second most boring and stupid of all of
Utterly
the
stupid shot. Yeah, I had seen that
So
shot.
you
That is one
saw
of
I'm
the
Not a Robot?
such
yeah, that
nonsense.
is the stupidest shots I've
Yes.
seen in a
I don't
while.
know. I have good expectations from the New Yorker produced shots just because they produce Ice Merchants, I think. But anyways, and Hall Out,
They did?
Amartya.
Huh?
Yeah, well,
Both were New Yorker. But anyways, yeah. What is I'm not a robot
Okay.
about?
I'm Not a Robot is one of the okay. It starts off with a funny enough concept, and you think that it will continue to be that kind of fun, stupid, but then it decides to moralize and philosophize in the most banal, benign way possible. And you
Okay.
are like, why in the world are you doing this? And then it ends, and you are like, I wish I could end myself with this movie. And I'm like, and it's like what? It's
Yeah,
less
you
than
have
20
that
minutes long
feeling
or
a
something.
lot about a lot of things.
a lot of things. It's worrying.
Yeah.
That is true, but no, but I think Amartya will agree with me on this one. It's just really stupid in a not good way because I love stupid. It's not fun stupid. It's just stupid
Okay.
stupid.
Okay.
It's also predictable stupid. It's like पहली बार तो captcha mistake वैसे भी बकवास है. Captcha thing, the captcha itself is a बकवास thing. So you are doing an entire movie on captcha and then you are basically spinning off into a quote unquote surrealistic sort of a thing like a Martin Regetman movie. You have seen the Martin Regetman movies, right, Dhruv? Those like extremely deadpan surrealist comedy which he
I've
makes.
not
He's an
seen.
Argentinian filmmaker.
I've
Yeah,
not seen.
yeah, you should watch Rapido
Okay.
is very funny. But
Okay.
yeah, it's like watching a Martin Regetman movie, except there is nothing in this movie. It's like
Oh.
these people are like, oh, I'm a robot. Oh, I'm not completing a captcha. Okay. And then the captcha suddenly moves to, hi, welcome to the robot community. So glad you are a bot. I'm like,
I mean,
ये
you both are doing
क्या है?
quite. Both are doing a great job of not making me want to watch it ever. So congrats.
Yeah, I'm like,
I
ये
think.
क्या हो रहा है? And then
Okay.
the husband comes, and then it is like, then the husband comes, and the husband brings an actual person who has actually made her into a robot. So we are led to believe that she's actually a robot. And I'm like, wow, man, this
Okay.
is so bad. This
Okay.
is
So I
so
guess the
bad
winner of a best shot being bad is not a surprise at all. Happens
at
every
all.
year almost.
Happens every year. Yes.
So, but yes,
The
any
shot
other
which I
thoughts?
actually liked, the shot
Hmm.
which I actually liked out of the live action is the man who could not remain silent.
Okay. This
Which
you
I
also liked, right, Chris?
Yeah, I really liked it.
What
yeah,
is it
I
about?
thought
it
it
is.
was no, Amartya, please go ahead.
Bolo. No. It's okay.
No, so it's a really short, but I thought it was a really I thought it was essentially the better version of Alien or however you pronounce it. I
It is.
I was not the
It's a
biggest fan of
horrible
that. Yeah,
title, but yes, Alien.
yeah, I was not the biggest fan of that one. I think this is a far
Yeah.
more poignant version of it. So it's
Sure.
I mean, where is I'm forgetting Blackman sadly. Where is it set, Amartya?
Wait, if I will have to check it. It's about a massacre that happened in 1993. It's essentially an ethnic
Yeah,
cleansing thing, which was
somewhere
just
in
like
Eastern Europe.
yeah. So yeah, exactly.
So essentially, it's about this military raiding a train to find
Okay.
Muslims on it
Mm-hmm.
in order to
Yeah.
massacre them. And
Yeah.
it's framed really interestingly from the point of view of this guy who has got one Muslim in the carriage that he's sitting in, and
Mm-hmm.
he's really scared, and he goes, I'll speak up for you so that you don't get captured. But
Mm-hmm.
then when the guys actually show up, how the different people, I think there's 6 people in that
Okay.
carriage, how they react differently to this person. And it's very simple. It's the camera barely moves around,
Hmm.
and but it's framed and it's paced really well, so it's
Okay.
quite poignant, I thought. If
Okay.
Amartya has other thoughts, you think?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. It
Yeah.
was very poignant.
And
Yeah.
Chris, any other thoughts on Anuja?
uh, Anuja,
I have also
saw-
seen Anuja.
Oh, you've seen? Oh, yeah, you saw it. I asked you
Yeah.
how was it, and you said it's better than the Elephant Whisperers, which made me go, oh wow, how great.
Incremental improvement, yes.
Okay.
No, I was telling Dhruv, it's the kind of stuff that I have no interest in. The very standard Oscar ke liye miserablest, or
to
not
the
miserablest, but like
to the
you
extent
know,
to the extent that there is a literally frame by frame shot, matlab location bhi same hai
Hmm.
of that same road which we had also seen in Slumdog Millionaire, where the
yeah.
Oh.
beggars are actually begging in front of the cars
But
and
I'm
everything,
guessing this is shot almost like a realist sort of, no sort of no
cinematography reminded me of
cynicism.
which movie? The
Which one?
cinematography reminded me of which movie? Lapata Ladies.
Absolutely. If you color graded Lapata Ladies to look like one of these pretentious Oscar films.
Yeah.
The less I say, the better, I think.
Yes.
I have one more that I liked. It's called The Last Ranger. I thought it
Yes, I
was
was
quite
about to.
nice.
I did not see it. I
Isn't
want.
this about
Somebody
poaching?
Yeah, it's about poaching. It's
Okay.
about rangers and it's about poaching in South Africa. And they actually use actual footage of the animals which had been poached. And I think it's got,
Great.
I know some people thought the acting was a bit sketchy. I thought it was
Hmm.
quite wonderfully done. Again,
Okay.
little bit of a nail biter, but it's again got that sort of poignancy. I thought it was I don't know if I think it's a touch too long, but I think it gets its
This is
emotions
what
right. So
it
I
uses the
quite
40 minutes full.
it uses it
It's 20
fully
minutes, 22 minutes, I think, if I'm
22
not
minutes.
mistaken.
It doesn't
Okay.
40 minutes. But like
Okay.
there are some parts of it that feel like you could have been tightened a little bit. But again,
Sure.
it's really short, so you
So
don't know.
all
I
these
didn't
are
really
like very short. Like they don't like do the Elephant Whisperers wala or whatever it was. What is that movie
no, no.
called?
Which movie?
The Elephant क्या था जो कल पिछले साल जीती थी?
Whisperers ही था.
Whisperers ही
You
था.
are saying
हाँ
it correctly
हाँ
only.
हाँ.
It's okay.
हाँ तो like it's not key because that movie was 40 minutes and it felt like 3 hours. It's one of those things. But it's not.
Only
None
reason
of
I
these
could
movies.
watch it because I was in a train.
Yes, I wish I was hit by one while watching it. But anyways, best animated feature should we move on to because all of us have something
Sure.
to say about it. Because for
No,
once,
मैंने
although
एक ही देखा है, and the only one which I had seen was the one which won.
I was about to
So
say, but
chose
but,
like
The
but
best
random.
of the lot.
Yeah.
which is
So
I think the best of the lot. Which you
I
are very
also think it's
lucky.
the best.
I think that you just watched the best of the lot. Though I would
Yeah.
say, out of the four I saw, I didn't see all five. None of them were bad. All of them were fine to some degree at least.
Are any
So
of them as saccharine
You
as
didn't
the
watch
wolf,
the
the
bad
fox, the fox, the horse, or whatever the
whatever
hell?
that movie Apple TV Plus that beat Ice Merchants, no, nothing is as diabetically disastrous as that movie.
No, but the
Or
last
that,
one that
or
you
that
didn't watch
John
was
or
actually
Yoko
quite
Ono
bad.
ka, or that Yoko Ono ka short film which won, which almost came to win last year, which was made on a video game, Unreal video game engine. अरे वो war
That was
film.
awful.
Oh
Oh, that
no,
was so
penguin
bad.
बेच रहा है, penguin
Oh,
बेच रहा है.
the chess thingy. Oh god, that was so
Yes,
bad. Anyway,
yes,
sorry.
yes.
You were saying, Chris,
I
that
mean, you
the
missed out. The one that you
okay,
didn't watch was actually quite bad. I thought I
it's
did not like
saccharine.
it at all.
Which one?
It's not
Yuck or
saccharine.
the?
It's just
Yuck, I watched.
Beautiful men. I
Yuck,
thought
I
Oh,
it
okay,
was
watched.
okay.
just too. It was a bit too weird and just trying too hard for
I
my
Okay.
thought
taste.
it reminded me, the thumbnail reminded me of Anomalisa, which I was like, okay.
Which I love Anomalisa. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Anomalisa, I've seen parts of. Again, not a big claymation fan, so I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
remember.
I know.
Uh,
You need to get into claymation.
But
I
in the
think,
shadow of
but
the
it's
cypress,
okay.
I liked because it kind of reminded me of Ice Merchants Thora with the
Uh-huh.
animation style
I
Thora.
literally told Chris after watching it that Ice Merchant is essentially the better version of this with like because I love the animation in this, but I actually love even more the animation in Ice Merchants.
Ice
But yeah, in
Merchants
this
animation was extraordinary. It was
it's something
fantastic
else.
animation.
It's on
Yeah, yeah.
YouTube by the way if you want to watch it.
Yeah.
YouTube as in
But
you
this
can do
movie is not
the
bad.
oh it's
Yeah,
very
but
good. It's very good.
this is not bad.
Anomalisa.
This is actually very good. Yeah.
It's
Like,
Iranian.
it's
At least
Iranian. Yeah.
Iranian made by an Iranian studio.
Apparently,
Animation studio.
apparently the filmmakers landed like hours before the ceremony, I think, to
Oh
submit
really?
their
Okay.
shots or whatever.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's like what is it like minimalist animation? So
Kinda. I don't
one
think it is.
second.
I don't think it may be called minimalist. I think it had enough
Uh,
work done in it. So
Hmm.
okay, I think yeah. I mean, we skimmed over it, Gursimran, not sort of dwelled upon it.
There can be two reasons why. Number one is it's a quote unquote genre movie and it's a quote unquote sci-fi movie. So the fact that these movies are getting nominated is in itself should be considered big wins, because the Academy still hasn't gotten over, awarding sci-fi movies any of the
genre
big
stuff,
major
na, in
awards,
general.
genre stuff, any of the big major awards. Or the other answer is they are waiting for the inevitable part 3 where they will finally do a Lord of the Rings, the Return of the
Everything.
King. Yeah, they will do a Lord of the Rings, Return of the King thingy, which is a bad move on their part, because if anybody has
Messiah
read Dune
is
Messiah,
different, right?
if anybody has read Dune Messiah, that movie is not going to get nominated. I'm sorry, that movie is too weird.
Is that the Joker Folie à Deux of Dune?
No. It's weirder.
Okay. So that is the movie that needs David Lynch then, or needed David Lynch, not
Yes, exactly.
this.
That is the
Okay,
movie that
fine.
David Lynch should have made. But yes,
Okay, fine.
rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Yeah, I mean, we will keep his spirit alive for the next 7-8 months. I think we are starting
Yes.
a David Lynch. It's not a marathon; it's a jog or
Basically,
a walk.
or कोई marathon नहीं filmmaker
No
का, I'm
marathons,
sorry.
no marathons.
Please no.
Yeah. I think मेरा तो कल ही Saturday के बाद running energy नहीं बची कोई. But anyways, we're back to In the Shadow of the Cypress. Or Cyprus?
Cyprus.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I love this sort of minimalist animation only. Like, it's just what 2D animation. I think a lot of it is. It's very unfussy. It's got like very neat designs and like sort of everything is communicated visually, which again is always a huge
Always a
huge
good thing.
plus. You don't
Yes.
need a single line of dialogue in a movie like this, like at all, because everything can be communicated so expressively, which is so yeah. I mean, it's about subject matter which is very cliche almost at this point. I suppose PTSD and war trauma being discussed in films is like a there can be like a subgenre of that type of movie, but like
Yeah.
this one communicates it really beautifully in the way, like even when it's doing obvious symbolism in the sense of the man essentially being made of of like glass, or like if him sort of hitting nail onto like the wall, but like rather than hitting the nail, actually breaking the wall itself. So all of those are like not exactly subtle, but in the way it's communicated, the movie I thought was like really expressive in a very low key way, and yeah, I just thought it was. I was surprised. I was waiting for them to speak. Actually, I didn't know it was silent. So when they didn't speak, I was like, "Oh, this is my thing. Like this is my type of movie." But yeah, Chris, go ahead. You also really liked it.
I thought it was definitely, especially because I saw Yuck just before it. Now I thought
Yuck
Yuck
is
was quite
cute.
cute. But
Yeah.
it is again very on the nose, and I like the animation
On
style. I
the
don't
is it
know if
on the
you're not
nose? Come on, there's a pun there somewhere.
I'm not making it.
I
but-
haven't seen the movie. I have no idea. What
It's
these
about
people are
French
talking
people learning that kissing is a good feeling. I'm like, can the French really make that movie?
They
Are
had
they
to
allowed?
learn. I thought they
Yeah,
learned it while being born. No,
That's the joke. Yes, that is the joke. I the first thing that struck my head was you need change the language. That'll solve all your problems.
It's
It'll make the
literally
movie
called
very
French
believable.
kiss. I'm sorry. You guys made it.
I wasn't huge on the animation of Yuck, but it is cute. It's quite cute.
I
Yeah.
quite like the animation style as well.
Okay.
And so after seeing that, I really didn't know what to expect from the category. So I just saw In the Shadow of the Cypress next, because I think Dhruv, you had said that you quite
Yeah,
liked
I
it.
really liked it.
And
yeah.
I was really impressed by it, because I just, and I, like you said, I thought it used its symbolism really well. I think one of you pointed out that even the waves it drew in
Yeah.
a way that it looked like the
Birds.
that the guy was traumatized by. But I thought it uses its I think the silence of it, the entire thing, and its imagery and its symbolism really sharply and really well. So I was like, this is a really interesting use of the medium that just really resonated with me, especially as someone who's not the biggest fan of animation in general.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
other ones-
forgot.
Yeah.
वो shade है. Yeah.
I was about to say Magic Candy is also actually is conceptually quite interesting. That
Magic Candy is again
Candy is
two on-
a Japanese anime, right?
Yeah, it's Japanese, but it's written
No,
by
it's
a
not
Korean
anime,
person.
but it's like it's 2D and it's still 2D animation and mixed with 3D. I think like not completely sort of. It's got a good visual style. It's got a good story in which the candies are really not candies. They are LSD or whatever drug. It's not. No one
So
can like talk.
candies. So candies.
Being
Well,
consumed by a small child.
the way the
Yes,
small
so
child talks
candies.
about them, the way the small child talks about them makes it sound like Alpenliebe. वही थी ना toffee.
No,
That's
but
what
that
Uh,
sugar
first
high. That's what
animation.
sugar high is supposed to be for them.
Sugar high
No,
doesn't
but that
make your
first
sofa talk.
animation.
So, okay.
Yeah, the first animation of that kid eating the candy, I was like, this is an LSD trip. What is going on here?
It doesn't make your
Japan is very open-minded about a lot of things.
yeah.
Huh? That is
No,
one
it's
weird
a
country.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, well, in the contrary to what the samurai code is, then I suppose. But
Hmm.
anyways, no, this I think if it didn't, this was the one where I watched it before the Iranian the In the Shadows of Cyprus, and I was like, remove all the dialogue in this, and this will be
Same.
great,
I
like
thought I
magic
was like,
candies.
this is one time where I was like too much dialogue. For the love
Yeah,
of God, please mat dalo itna dialogue.
yeah.
And
I'm
I'm
like,
someone who
this is
likes dialogue a lot.
yeah, as a visual thing, I thought this would work like wonderfully because it is also about someone, and it's about like a loner, like a silent loner.
Hmm.
That also, I'm like, then why do you use dialogue even? Like let him when he
The
takes
most
that.
silent people become the most talkative, maybe.
No, but he's talking even when he's not doing the LSD whatever Alpenliebe trip.
अरे सर
Uh,
बच्चा है बच्चा क्या लोनर है
Loner hai,
बच्चे
sir.
बच
The point of the movie is that only. It like hammers
It's
home
about
that point
like,
quite a bit.
yeah.
अरे सर 10 साल का बच्चा कितना लोनर होएगा ठीक
Oh,
है
बहुत loner hai, sir. बहुत. Taxi driver in the making. Yes.
And Wonder to
We
Wonder,
are,
I
yeah.
am
What are we
surprised.
yapping about, guys?
We are yapping
What
about the
are
most
we?
useless thing in all of the Oscars, which is saying something. Those are the shorts.
No, it is not
Yeah.
useless. It's about the things which will never get talked about, and we like them.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
animated short film winner, Swapnal. You should watch it. It's really nice. But you can also watch the one which we were talking about, which is Japanese LSD slash toffee animation about a loner who learns.
Basically, sugar high shown in a much more creative manner, essentially converting it to full high. So you can understand where it's going. Yeah.
Yeah, again, just doesn't need dialogues, and it'll be great. But it's a
Doesn't need
cute
our
again cute.
explanation also. Just watch it. Doesn't need our
Watch it.
explanation also.
Yeah. Sub hai available online. This one too is available on YouTube also. This not in the Shadow of the Cypress. The what is it called? Magic Candies. Yeah.
Magic Candies, yeah.
Full
Wonder to
magic-y hai.
Wonder. I didn't understand, so I'll leave
I'm
it to
surprised
Chris.
you didn't like it. I thought you would really like it because it's
I
your
dozed off
kind of
because it's morbid.
yeah, the quirky, lonely, morbid.
I don't like quirky that much.
I thought you like this kind of quirky.
We need to talk more, which is weird. Uh, no. I
But
think
yeah,
I was sleepy, so I honestly just didn't get the movie. I was like, what is happening? And I just slept off. So
I think
my
it's
fault for not paying
wacky,
that much
but
attention.
again, not a fan of claymation, so it was just not
Oh, this
visually
is like
really
your
my
ये
cup of
आपके ये आपके memo में जाना चाहिए. Not a fan of claymation. Yeah.
That is the
I
hardest
thought
animation. Dandadan
I
is
was
not
like,
going to get nominated for Oscar. Are you insane? It is too weird for anybody except
Sir,
us anime
this
dweebs.
magic candies is not weird. But I really
You
like the
haven't seen
visual of.
Dandadan. You haven't
Okay.
seen Dandadan.
भेजो
Trust
weird तो
me.
मुझे अच्छा लगता है generally.
अरे YouTube में है
Oh,
वो
okay.
शो है YouTube
Oh.
में है
Okay. Anyways, I think we should move on swiftly to best doc feature, which will involve more not a long but like a longish discussion about one of our other favorites, which we were surprised that it didn't win the best doc, right?
the
I
one
think
that won is as generically middling and like plays in the back of a museum exhibit type of documentary you could possibly ever
So the
you can-
Oscars.
such an award.
yeah. So you can expand upon that first, I guess, Chris, which is The Only Girl in the Orchestra is the film that won, which I have not seen, and neither has
Yes.
Amartya.
Have you
Yeah.
seen any of the other documentaries?
Nope.
on
No,
that?
I've only seen Incident by Bill
Okay.
Morrison.
That is
I
the
think
only
that
one I
kind
had
of
seen. Yeah.
run through all of them really quickly, and then we can
Okay.
move on to incident if that's okay.
Like this is
So
what
only
Chris does, quick reviews, or what shorthand can we have for this?
Kriska. I'm not going to say Kriska quickies, but anyway, doesn't matter. That means a lot of different things.
yes, it does. So, Only Girl in the Orchestra is a documentary made by the niece of the first ever woman to join the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. And it is as generic as it gets. Absolutely nothing interesting about it. This lady, it's like the last couple of days before she
इतना
retired,
कौन
she moved
कहता
out
है?
of her she moves out of her house and they chat about like fame or some nonsense like that, and it kind of ends, and that's about it. Like the subject matter is interesting, but it's made in the most bland way imaginable.
Okay.
So that is the Only Girl in the Orchestra. Death by the rest again. The other two, Death by Numbers and I'm Ready Warden, have again interesting stories but told extremely boringly. Death by Numbers is about a one of the big school shootings in America, and one of the people who survived it and her experience with the trial of the guy who did the shooting. And it's literally so boring that the only time I was moved at all was during a speech that she was anyway going, the main character, the girl who is follows, were anyway going to give at the trial. So it's just a recording of that speech, of that statement that she gives, only touching part of the entire thing. Otherwise, it's just like, okay, this is the story, ho gaya type of thing. Again,
Sure.
absolutely banal way to tell a very poignant sort of story of what does it mean to survive having your friends die right in front of you and experience something so traumatic.
Yeah.
For a
That's that.
better version of this, there is an anime called Look Back. It's a movie. Please watch that movie. It's
Oh
a
yeah,
1 hour
I've heard a
movie.
lot about that. It's great, apparently, right?
It's great. Watch that
Okay.
movie.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm
Anyway.
just for context, I'm putting YouTube links here because these are the New Yorker docs, or New Yorker shorts, which Swapnil is talking about. Two of them, one of them we will be talking about, but I guess I'll just flag it up. This is the link
Channel.
for it, channel for it, whatever. You can watch it here. I think it's a pretty extraordinary doc, short doc, especially. But anyways, we'll get to that. On to other
Yeah.
ones you didn't like, Chris.
The last two, one is I'm Ready Warden. It's again about a man on death row 6 days before he is executed. And it talks about the story of how the incident happened when he was 19, the 4 years that he ran away, and then how he got caught and he spent some 14, again, over a decade on death row before he was executed. And it's got a couple of interesting moments. I thought the only moment that felt really poignant was after he's executed. There is a scene where there's a moment where they record the son of the man who was murdered, who's also an adult now, and his combined sort of conflict at that moment, because he's sad that a life was lost so young, but also extremely feeling that sense of justice that this man died for murdering my father. Apart from that, again, told in a very, very generic way that I didn't find particularly engaging at all.
Yeah,
And the
and
last one,
there are
yeah.
other there's a Werner Herzog doc on the death row which is really good. Into the Abyss, if anyone is interested in that, they can watch that. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, and the last one, Instrument of a Beating Heart, as I was telling Dhruv, is essentially
yes.
glorified child abuse. It's the story of like a
Wow.
This you can find on the New York Times site.
Yes.
I think it's available.
it's about
there.
a
I was
first
going to
grader
make a
who-
joke about the New York Times being the place for this sort of stuff. Then I'm like, no, thank you. Chalo, theek hai. No, thank
Let's
you.
not. Yeah, it's about a Japanese first grader who wants to join like a performance that they're doing for the new first graders who'll come in once they go to second
Okay.
grade. And she's a little bit slow and behind the rest of the class, and essentially how the teachers are just incredibly horrible to her in trying to get her to do well in this. And you have to watch first graders cry on camera, and you're like, I don't know if even making something like this was ethical. So I was like,
Sure.
yeah, no, thank you. I didn't even rate it because I was like, this is just not okay. So that
Okay.
was all the rest of the
Sure.
the shots, which again,
So the
leads us
one which
into
we
easily
thought,
the
yeah,
best of the lot.
the one which
The
we
one
thought
which we
would-
thought were great
would-
was actually the great one. Yeah.
great.
So,
And I thought it'll win. Like it's not
Yeah.
like it's not uncommon for this type because the subject matter is so prescient and so sort of hard hitting. But of course we are also impressed by it
नहीं
on a sort of
सर,
filmmaking level.
ऑस्कर्स है ऑलरेडी डॉक्यूमेंट्री में सबसे हार्ड हिटिंग ऑप्शन दे दिया, हमारा कोटा
अच्छा,
डन,
तो यहाँ पे सॉफ्ट पेडल करेंगे.
सॉफ्ट पेडल करेंगे.
अच्छा, ठीक है, चलो. इंसिडेंट बाय बिल मॉरिसन, दो आई थिंक वी ऑल ऑफ अस really like this.
Yes.
Really
It's a
fantastic.
very harrowing
Extraordinary,
film.
extraordinary doc, harrowing
Yeah,
to the
very
extreme.
harrowing, not easy to watch at all.
Yeah.
And asks you to actually be, engage and be patient with by watching something which is not easy to watch at all also.
It's essentially
So-
what Deepakar Banerjee tried to do in LSD 2, except यहाँ पर कोई futuristic बात कुछ है नहीं. This is frighteningly and hauntingly real.
Yeah,
कि मतलब how all these cameras capture the cruelty and the nonchalance of human beings,
yeah,
as well as the quickness in which they can shift narratives to essentially put the victimization on themselves.
yeah.
Like that is, it's impossibly like darkly hilarious when the police officer finally
Is it?
shoots the
I
guy.
don't know. I just couldn't muster laughter while I
When
know
the
that I
police
can
officer
understand what you
finally
mean.
shoots the guy, when the police officer shoots the guy, and then he's talking with the woman, and the woman is like, you saved us, man. He was
Yeah.
going for us. He was going for the weapons. I'm like,
Hmm.
keep lying more. You are going to believe it soon enough. Keep lying more.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the more you lie, the more you might just believe your bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Absolutely. I
that's
think
like
it's
darkly hilarious and also harrowing to a certain
yeah,
degree.
yeah. I think because correct me if I'm wrong. I watched this a while back now. I know you just watched it recently, and both of you watched it fairly recently. I watched it maybe like a month back now. I know, like I remember, of course, bits and pieces of the film a lot, and the film is about the technique in the film is about bits and pieces of information and images being relayed over a singular image. Like one of the most haunting
I love the
things.
contrast. I love the contrast. I love the contrast between the people who think they are the victims, that is the police, because that is
Yeah.
why they have reacted when categorically that is not true, and the actual victims, that is
Yeah.
the main African American people of America, who are so used to this sort of racism that they are like that. When the kids grow up, they have the talk, and the talk
Yeah.
is not about the birds and the bees. The talk is about what will happen if a police officer actually comes by while you're driving.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do? That is a talk that they have. So all this sort of stuff, this aggression, this microaggression by microaggressive racism that they face every single time, which is not micro at all after
It becomes
after the George
in
Floyd
this
case
film.
and
It
everything
definitely
else.
becomes macro, but
Yeah.
but I think what I remember is that whole thing of these shifting perspectives and different body, like that's that. But that one stationary image of everything unfolding of
While the body is lying
person
there.
who's shot,
Yeah. While the
whose
body is lying there, yeah.
and then everything else sort of either plays like beside it, over it, or everything, but that contrast of always that tragedy almost like ringing true even when everything else is happening is so moving, because you see like these different things happening in different images, but that stillness of that body lying there and the camera sort of not budging away from that one point of view is, I think, what really made the film more uncomfortable to watch, because in a way
And
this is essentially
it's also a certain relationship with truth, right? I think that is
Yes,
what
I was about to
is
say,
more
yeah.
poignant about it. It's just that we say there are so many truths and all of that, but there is a fact. This man was shot. 5 shots were fired by the police officer. The man wasn't even able to get his gun out, the black
Yes.
man. The thing that like disturbed me the most immediately was that the guy who shot him, the first thing he said was fire shot at the police. That his instinct was to think that gunfire was shot at him, even though he was the only one who fired the gun. And you
Yeah.
are constantly looking at a certain the capital the truth that this man is dead, lying in
Yes.
the middle of this road in the center of the frame, while you are hearing these conversations between these officers and their again relationship, like Amrita said, with the camera, their discussions about turning the body camera off, and what can they say on camera, and their
Yeah.
discomfort with it being around, and them literally rewriting that moment, that actual fact in their right in front of themselves, and
in the
saying,
narrative, and they are being aided by other law enforcement officers as well,
Yeah.
which is like, it's such a systemic form of corruption that it's almost like, again, it's half laughable, half disgusting. It's almost darkly hilarious to a certain degree, and it's also like, one recommendation I can give, it's a mini series. It's again done by David Simon
We own
of
the
the
city.
Wire fame. He made this mini series called We Own This City. It has
Yeah, I
John
think
Bernthal in it.
you've talked about it, I think, before also in one episode. But
It
yeah.
has John Bernthal in it. It was about the gun trace. It's about a special task force called the Gun Trace Task Force, and the corruption. The extrajudicial punishment they carried out while
Can
policing.
I ask you about the name? The title is We Own This City?
We own this. We own this city. I think that's her name.
Okay.
Yeah. David Simon. It has John Bernthal in it, and it's directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green, who directed King Richard, the Will Smith movie, which Will Smith won. But yeah,
I mean, I'm glad you remember that is as that, not
yeah.
not the movie for which he went to take the award and punch someone.
ऑस्कर से सर, कुछ तो ठीक समझे, गलत ना समझे, वही और क्या.
Okay.
I mean, you can only vilify that guy enough. The guy is already doing his vilification for his own good. नहीं तो कोई मैट्रिक्स को बेस करके कोई म्यूजिक वीडियो बनाता है, अजीब है. मतलब कुछ भी कर रहा है. करियर का क्या हालत हो चुका है इसका. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, but We Own the City, I think I've not seen it, but yeah, I mean, it's just one of those, I don't, like, it's one of those films, incident is at least, that it's so hard to recommend in a way, but like also like it's one of those you kind of have to watch it. And I mean this in the sense of even like it's very fascinating from a formal point of view. It's not just sort of, ye hua tha, and we are just showing it. It's, as I think what Chris was saying a little bit about reality, I think to me it is also about how accurately via the use of so many devices can you create or recreate one incident as truthfully as possible, more than anything else. Because if you just select one point of view, you'll be restricted to that point of view, right? And here you have so multiple things happening in one image, because that one image remains, and then everything else is like either playing over it or under it or sideways, like the screen splits into different parts. So it's one of those things where I was like thinking about how impossibly hard it is actually to create or recreate reality in this sort of medium, or recreate what happened essentially. So yeah, I mean it worked very much for me in that respect also. So yeah, I mean we wanted to talk about that, like incident, soundtrack to a coup d'etat, what else, No Other Land, and In the Shadow of the Cypress. I think those were the 4 films which I know that we won't get another episode to specifically talk about them. So we decided to sort of make this more about those films as opposed to the other sort of popular Oscar picks or whatever makes sense. We've talked about them so much in any case, and a lot of us are either ambivalent or either unenthusiastic about so many of them, that I think the best thing for us at least was to focus a fair bit on these also. I hope you can watch all these films. All of them are available online in different capacities. Incident, I've just put a link down here in the comments. It's on YouTube. Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, Amartya, is it available officially online in
I don't
principle?
think so.
Okay,
I don't
so
think so.
No, it's
unofficially
actually
it
been
is.
taken off of a lot of places that I usually get it from. So I
Really?
had to do some jugaad to find it. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So do some jugaad to find it, I suppose, because it's really great. And so Anju puts a good comment. I've not seen Porcelain War. None of us
Porcelain
have.
War I need to see. No Other Land, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think all these films.
I think both Dhruv and I share sort of interest over the formal nature of filmmaking itself, which is
documentaries.
why
Yeah.
which is why soundtrack to a coup d'etat is like overwhelmingly favorable for me, at least, because
No, for me
I
too. It's one of the
legitimately love that
standouts.
movie.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
no other land, the potency and the importance, especially in
yeah.
how it is made, it doesn't shy away from the handheld and the tactile nature of its filmmaking. It never shies
Hmm.
away from that to make something aesthetic, even out
Hmm.
of the real life tragic events occurring.
Yeah.
It never tries to make anything aesthetic out of
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
remains committed to what it is trying to do, which is always
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of. I think again, it's not a surprise that I guess we've titled this the insignificant the in brackets because as much as it's one of those things where we hope that in the Oscars, apart from whatever discourse and everything and all that stuff, you get to at least discovering slash watching these films because these otherwise will not get a platform to be as popular or whatever, like even like watched, people won't sort of see it. So I think that's the big takeaway, I guess. That's the significance part. The insignificance part is the nonsense surrounding everything else, I presume.
Basically, what Dhruv is trying to say, but he's not saying, is all the major awards are more or less insignificant. All the
In
other
the
minor
context of
awards, in the
in the
context
context
of
of
everything else,
cinephiles.
in the context of cinephiles, all the major
Hmm.
awards are more or less insignificant. All the
Hmm.
minor awards, like say,
Hmm.
and I'm not even using the word minor in any other way other
It's
than the
like
fact
quote
importance
unquote
of being
like
afforded.
ones which the Oscars, if they had the ability or choice and if they didn't get that backlash, would have eliminated to a non show, to a sort of just listing them, right? It's one of those things.
It's the necessary evil at this point. Anora winning is essentially the safest option, because otherwise, if the controversy did not happen, Emilia Perez
Emilia
would have won
Perez.
and it would have made it into a crash like situation.
Yes.
So you get the idea.
Yeah.
क्या ही
Sugarcane is
बोले.
chilling. Yes, so I
Yeah,
think
too much
sugarcane.
black book.
The subject matter is there's another film. I think this sugarcane. You can correct me, Anju, if I'm wrong. I think it's centered more on the violence committed by white people against Native Indians in like a particular uh, college. Either set like a like Nickel Boys. Actually, it's a bit like a boarding school
Ah, okay,
setting or
okay,
like
okay.
in that sort of environment. I've not yet watched it, but I'm interested to watch it. There's a film about called the Lakota Nations versus the United States,
Lakota
which
Nation. Yeah. I need to see
released
that.
last year, which I think was also terrific as a documentary about the violence committed by sort of the states against a particular sect of Indians who were on this land, and it's really impactful
the
both as
main
a
the
formal
main
piece also.
issue with documentaries is essentially on how we consume documentaries. Do we
Yeah.
consume, or do we judge the documentary based on its content, or do we also give it the leeway and afford it the same amount of respect that we give other movies and concentrate on its form? And how
I
do
think
we do that?
I think we've made it very clear, or at least I've made it very clear. I view documentaries almost, in fact, even more as a formal thing. Like for me, I pay even more attention to the form because I think so many of the critiques in documentaries are about content. They are showing this, so I will champion it. I always
And
gravitate
also,
towards sort of talking about the form.
content is also a matter of perspective, right? Like,
Hmm.
content is also a matter of perspective. So
Hmm.
in a way, the form is the most, how do I put this, remarkable thing to comment upon. If your
Hmm.
form is great,
Hmm.
your content, even if controversial, will be something which will become fascinating to watch,
Yes,
even
yes,
if it is
I think
controversial.
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
which is
think yeah, Black Box Diaries is very good, Anju. So yeah, you should check it out.
to answer Swapnil. No, I think the Brutalist is 3 hours and 21 minutes long. Only the 35 minutes is because if you don't want to,
Intermission, no?
if you take the intermission, ka entire 15 minutes,
Hmm.
which is not present in the online print which I watched the Brutalist
Yeah,
in. So that's
yeah.
fine. So you can
I
cut
think it's
that.
got a minute or something put in
Yeah,
for
it's
the.
got a minute or something. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
There's a timer that shows up, right? I think if I'm not
Yeah,
Yeah.
wrong.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And in India, after the intermission happened, then PVR again ran another break for 15 minutes. So that
Okay.
happened.
Of
So
course.
of
So
course
yeah.
they did. Yeah.
Okay.
They did that
Uh,
with Joker. That was definitely the funniest of all of them.
Folia do or Joker.
Folio, yeah. That
Acha.
Folio do had two intervals.
I
Very
mean,
funny.
there's a joke here where that was
We
maybe
need
the
three
best part.
intervals for that
Yeah,
movie.
I was about to say that.
We
Yeah.
need three intervals, or we need to cut out all the scenes in that movie. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Movie card though, basically.
Fully.
Okay.
Interval के
Uh,
पैसे दे.
Anju, we've talked about this. I apologize. I don't think we have the energy to delve deep into this again. We
I mean, I don't disagree with her. Of course, it has made
Sure.
case. Of course, it does. And it's like,
So again, we've
again, like I stated in the beginning, and I'm letting Dhruv and Chris have a breather. Like I stated in the beginning, it's not as if that I am discounting any of the opinions or any of the true life events or any of the other sources or anything, be it Baker's accounts that he followed or whatever he did, be it Baker's accounts that he followed, all the fact that there wasn't an intimacy coordinator on set, or him being against unionization, all of it, everything, I take all of that into stride. I admit entirely that these are all valid points, all of it. I just have one very simple question. Can I judge the movie because when I was watching the movie, I did not take any of that into context? I came to know about the context only after I had seen the movie. So, this is my point. I am judging the movie based on the movie I had seen. And based on the movie I had seen, I felt that the movie was very mid. That's it. Dhruv and Chris liked the movie. They loved the movie. For me, it was just a mid movie. And honestly, with the context and everything, that gives that mid movie an even more of a troubling overlay. But that's all it is. It is an overlay for me. I don't ultimately care about the movie at all. That's all it is. It's a movie. I liked it fine. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's good enough. I think a good middle ground of not a middle ground of where we've unfortunately had a spat or whatever it was. It doesn't matter. OP or acha, this is the for the intermission.
Yeah, they
with the
didn't. Yeah, exactly. They didn't. Yeah.
better movies. I would say.
I agree. I don't disagree at all,
mean,
actually.
I think all these things. It's the what was the whole thing where it's like conclave wala system ho jata hai na.
No,
jo-
it's basic. No, it's basic. I'll tell you what the problem is, and if any of the people who are against Chris and Dhruv at this point and are watching this live stream,
No, they
first
are
of all,
not.
thank you for sticking around, and second of all, maybe just
There
maybe
is-
when you're what, maybe
They are
just
not
maybe when
watching.
you're watching the movie. Maybe just maybe when you're watching the movie, engage with the movie rather than the context surrounding the movie. That's all I can request. It's the
That
same
is
thing
our
that Bharadwaj.
perspective.
It's the same thing that big critic like Bharadwaj Rangan also does, sometimes much to his detriment, that he's only focusing on what is happening in the screen. It doesn't work all the time, but maximum of the time it works. It
Also,
works
this
for
is
me.
again. This is
And
Amartya's
again, this is
opinion
my
only.
opinion. This is our opinion.
You
But
can choose to do
honestly,
whatever you want.
yeah, but
We are
honestly, I
no
just think it's
enforcing
bad
anything.
faith. That's it. I just think
We
it's
think
bad
it
faith
is,
to
and we will
engage in some.
express it. It's your choice
Yeah.
to say that we are wrong, and you are
Yeah.
most allowed to say that anywhere. But
Exactly.
of course, if I find it out in any capacity, if you say it on a private message or wherever, and a private message, maybe I won't, of course, comment on it. But if you do post it on a public platform or anywhere, I am curious in knowing what you actually mean by what someone says, and maybe clarify maybe what we didn't mean. I listened back to whatever was said. I didn't think whatever was said was anything wrong. So whatever, like again, differences in opinion will exist and etc. I am very clearly not play whatever, I'm not doing anything. I'm just saying this has always been a thing where हम लोग जो बोलेंगे आप वापस हमें बोल सकते हो. मुझे I will not tell you to quote unquote shut the fuck up. Okay, I won't tell anyone to do that. You are allowed to say whatever you want. It's as simple as that. And apart from that, do whatever you like in the world,
Whatever
do
you want.
that.
Yeah. Seriously.
We are no one to tell anyone what to do. We can only we can talk about films. We can sort of recommend them or tell. I think we do less and less. What we do is talk about bad films because none of us are interested to have the energy to talk about them.
I mean, I
when
have
we-
enough energy, but I don't want to spend 20
I mean,
minutes to an hour on bad movies. No, thank you.
I mean, like we stopped doing the live streams weekly also, just also because firstly आता ही नहीं है कुछ सिनेमा हॉल में, and I think
हाँ।
कोई देखने भी
अच्छा
नहीं
सिनेमा
जाता.
लास्ट कब आया मुझे याद भी नहीं. लास्ट
You
वीक
like Super
दो
Boys of Malegaon, right?
लास्ट वीक 2 अच्छे मूवीज है हिंदी के, वही बहुत है. वो
Yeah.
मतलब
हो गया
रेयरिटी
साल
है.
बस खत्म.
अब हो गया
तो साल भर का
नहीं आएगा.
साल का अच्छा मूवी तो इस महीने के स्टार्टिंग में ही आ गया था, बट मेरे को उसके बात करने का मेरे को
Yes,
अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं
आपको
मिला.
मिलेगा. Don't worry. आपको 100% मिलेगा. Don't worry.
किसी दिन मैं लेके
आप
रहूंगा.
आप वो पिक्चर आपकी दूसरी फेवरेट पिक्चर नादानिया के साथ जरूर डिस्कस कीजिएगा.
You will the amount of praises that man will get in one go, especially when I get mad about Nadania, will be unparalleled. And I'm saying this as someone who has seen every single picture that man has starred in. So
that man
I
equals Mr. Himesh Reshammiya. So yes.
Oh God.
If anyone is interested in joining Chris wax lyrical about Himesh Reshammiya, please do. Amartya doesn't have the energy
Yes.
to watch all of his
No,
work.
no,
Neither do
I don't. I
So
don't.
we will
At-
bow
at
out.
all.
Yeah.
At all.
Or Chris, as usual, I can just be there and you can just talk. I'll be like the wall.
I can
who, like,
do
reacts.
the Deadpool and Wolverine episode equivalent. that
Yes,
you
where
and
Amartya was getting to slam the movie and I was just like, bolo sir, or bolo.
Yeah,
This is
and
the
I
Jaane
praise
Jaan
the movie
episode
and you
was.
can just shake your head vigorously the entire time.
Yeah, 100%. I think that might end up happening, but we'll see. Other things to come. Main thing to come is the David Lynch episodes. Every month, at
Yes.
least one of them. Other stuff we will see. Whatever is coming out. Mickey 17 isn't coming out in India or Dubai. I think in the next week at least. So we'll
Yeah,
be
it's coming out
discussing
on April in India.
in April here. So maybe we discuss it then. Before that, maybe Superbuyers of Maligaon. I have not seen it yet. Amartya liked it, so we
I
can talk
liked it.
about something
I
like
liked
that.
it.
So,
Yeah. I
but
also
yes,
like Crazy, except the stupid twist. That twist is utterly stupid. It's like
Okay.
it's so silly. It almost made me laugh out loud in the theater.
Yeah, or if Chris is in the mood of going down the dump yard of Bollywood, then we will also discuss Lavyappa and Nadania together. I think that
No.
should be a classic
I'm going
double
out.
show.
I'm out. I am out.
I will watch Nadania. I don't know if I can subject myself to Lavyapa. That is to be
Apparently,
seen.
it's not horrible.
I cannot
हाँ,
subject
क्योंकि
myself
original
to
movie तो
that
अच्छा है.
stress for that long. I am sorry. That trailer made me. I'm
Okay.
repeating myself for the 500th time, but it made me want to kill myself.
Again,
I
I think
don't
on
want
this
to
note we
see
will
Okay,
end
it
it.
is very
This
worrying.
This is very
worrying.
worrying. How many things want you to make yourself to do
The
that?
exaggerated proclamations tending to a declarative statement of basically trying to kill oneself. It's very worrying.
Yes, वो log line बदलो Chris. Okay. Anyways, thank you to everyone for listening, and thank you Amartya, Chris, and Aryan also for being here to talk about, as Amartya said, the blandest,
The
AF.
bland AF, but also the most controversial AF award season of.
I mean,
recent
most
memory.
controversial वो तो लगता है. So next year फिर से कुछ ना कुछ
No,
हो
no,
जाएगा, you know, it's-
this year was.
Oh, because of
actually
Emilia Perez,
controversial.
especially, I think.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Emilia Perez brutal is like there were concerted efforts by studios and everything else and everything going on to like put down one movie in favor of the other or whatever.
Next
it's-
year we know what is going to win everything already.
What? I have no idea.
Wicked for good.
Oh my God. I hate
that-
you so much.
On that note, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next month on the live stream, but sooner on the podcast episode. Bye.